We've lost control of the sacred true dragon gathering. This shocking news made the expressions of the 9 sovereigns change, and the sacred alliance broke out into chaos. The first stage battle of 5 zones was completely under the sacred alliance's control, but the ancient arena had created the second stage itself and formed a brand new battlefield. The mountains, rivers, forests inside the transparent light was another plane. A total of 500 geniuses were spread out across the dimension and didn't know what to do. This ancient arena is older and more mysterious than the Sacred Alliance and 10 great clans. It contains a heaven-reaching power itself. The Deputy Palace Lord looked at the surrounding statues with respect. But since the sacred true dragon gathering has gone out of control, wouldn't the results be unpredictable? These geniuses are our continent's future in this shining era. The sovereigns were worried. The bronze-skinned giant spoke in a low tone. The most urgent mission right now is to find out what the rules of the second round is. The sovereigns looked towards the reporting white-bearded sovereign. Rules? I'm afraid there is no rules. The white-bearded sovereign smiled bitterly. No rules. The sovereigns lost their cool. In the second round, the ancient arena had put all the remaining geniuses in a separate dimension, and the Sacred Alliance couldn't do anything. As for the rules, there was no mention of them. Does this mean that Theses geniuses can do whatever they want? Kill people, set fire, beat one another, destroy, anything? The mystic sword sovereign took in a deep breath. It should be so. After analyzing the spatial array, those outside can see the inside, but the ones inside can't see outside, meaning that we can't interrupt or make any suggestions. The white-bearded sovereign shook his head. The sovereigns of the Sacred Alliance had lived for several hundred years and witnessed many sacred true dragon gatherings. But this generation's sacred true dragon gathering was controlled by the ancient arena. This was the first time this had happened. Then let's watch what happens. The Deputy Palace Lord's voice was emotionless. Inside the transparent light plane, 500 geniuses were spread out amongst the place and were like headless flies. They were within this dimension but couldn't see what was outside. Yet the spectators could see every detail. Unable to connect to the outside world? What's happened to the sacred true dragon gathering? Zhao Feng furrowed his eyebrows as he stood on the plane. He was different from most of the others and kept his cool. Shua! Zhao Feng opened his god-spiritual eye and saw the spectating stand outside, including the one in the air. At the same time, the successors of the 3 major eye families all circulated and tried to look past the transparent light. The result was, the ghost-eyed man failed. His eye bloodline didn't specialize in seeing through. The successor of the Tuoba family failed after several tried. Only Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye could see the situation outside with his god's spiritual eye. Of course, this didn't mean that Zhao Feng's eye bloodline was better than the 3 major eye families. His god's spiritual eye specialized in looking from afar and inspection. This was the basis of having the ability to copy. This kid seems to be able to see us. Sovereign Xianxia inspected Zhao Feng with curiosity, but right at this moment Zhao Feng took back his gaze, as if it was just a coincidence. A while later Zhao Feng found the highest mountain and surveyed the landscape below within the transparent light dimension. Shua! With a scan of the god's spiritual eye, a real map was copied into Zhao Feng's mind. Zhao Feng had first controlled the landscape and remembered the map. After finishing this step, Zhao Feng didn't make any rash moves and instead inspected what was happening within the dimension. He quickly saw the scenes of battle near a lake. Taiyun Shuangzi had made a move on a peak true human rank genius. With the strength of an overwhelming prodigy, he beat that genius to vomiting blood within a move or two. Crack! The elder Taiyun Shuangzi chopped off one of that genius' arm. Arg! That genius howled in pain and kneeled down to beg. I admit defeat. Please stop. However, the weird thing was that although he admitted defeat, his dragon blessing didn't change. There were no regulators this time. What's going on? Why don't we get dragon blessing from those that we defeated? What a shit sacred true dragon gathering. What the fuck went wrong? Taiyun Shuangzi and unleashed his frustration on that genius, and as that genius was almost half dead. Forgive me. Let me live, I'll give my true dragon token to you. That genius handed over his true dragon token in tears. Wang. The second he received the True Dragon token, Taiyun Xiangzi's True Dragon token's gold light rose by a yard. Crack. That genius True Dragon token faded and shattered. Ha 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 ha, this feels great. As long as I take their True Dragon token, I can steal all their dragon blessing. Taiyun Xiangzi absorbed a large amount of dragon blessing and howled at the sky. The first round of the sacred True Dragon gathering was very tiring. He could only absorb 1/5 of the opponent's dragon blessing, but now he could take all of it. This scene obviously fell into the spectator's eyes. I understand this round is about pillaging and has no regulations or rules. Only this way would one be able to reveal their true strength. Sovereign Yu Xingqian's eyes lit up. That's right. There's too many factors affecting one's strength, including skill, state of mind, potential, etc. With these restrictions, everyone is restrained from their full power. That's great, but isn't this too cruel? These are all elites of the continent. The opinions of the sovereigns differed. At the same time, Zhao Feng also saw this and couldn't help but think. This round doesn't seem to have any restrictions. Any methods can be used to get the True Dragon token. Zhao Feng was filled with excitement and joy after he came to this conclusion. He liked this far more, and this landscape was perfect for him. Zhao Feng's God's spiritual eye continued to pay attention to Taiyun Xiangzi. The injured genius wasn't kicked out after losing his True Dragon token. What did this mean? I'm not out yet? Although my True Dragon token was taken by Taiyun Xiangzi, but I can still steal other people's. I still have a chance. The peak true human rank genius eyes twinkled as a hope appeared in his heart. After this, he must use all his skills to steal the True Dragon token of others. Thinking up to here, his eyes flashed and ran away from Taiyun Xiangzi. Humph. I'll let you go because you knew what to do. Now it's time for us to slaughter all those that don't hand their True Dragon token over. Taiyun Xiangzi charged towards the closest place where there were humans around and looked for new prey. Within half the time it took tea to be made, the sound of fighting could be heard again. Ah! A scream came from a mountain, and a genius that didn't hand over their True Dragon token was killed by Taiyun Xiangzi. Hua! The experts from the spectating stand broke out into chaos, and the elders of the killed genius asked to kick Taiyun Xiangzi out of the sacred True Dragon gathering. I'm sorry, everyone. The sacred True Dragon gathering has entered a brand new era, and the ancient arena made its own rules. The rules are, there is no rules. The bronze-skinned giant deputy palace lord's voice sounded across the spectating stand. The rules were that there were no rules. The crowd broke out into chaos. Guests from across the continent. The Sacred Alliance has lost control of the sacred True Dragon gathering. This isn't something we want to see. The white-bearded sovereign said with a red face, and the elders of every force all took in a cold breath. In reality, this was the truth. The sacred True Dragon gathering had indeed gone out of control, and the Sacred Alliance couldn't do anything. Sneak attacks, teaming up, setting fire, any methods could be used in the second round. The rules were that there were no rules. Don't you think that only those that have been refined under metal and blood can fulfill their potential and increase the continent's dragon blessing? The bronze-skinned giant's eyes were filled with cruelty, excitement, expectation, and other emotions. Fighting wasn't anything to sovereigns. It wasn't as if they hadn't seen it before. No one spoke back against the Deputy Palace Lord's suggestion. Most didn't know the Deputy Palace Lord's strength, but some sovereigns knew that he had fought with the Scarlet Moon demonic religion, Sword Saint Yi Wuxia, before. Those familiar with him knew that he was someone that loved slaughter. Within the transparent light, the sounds of killing arose, and geniuses started to tear at each other. Of course, there weren't many as cruel and savage as Taiyun Xiangzi. Normal battles usually ended when one side handed over their True Dragon token. After all, everyone came from the same continent, and killing one person might offend another force or even sovereign. Those that could reach this step had powerful backgrounds that were at least of the True Lord rank. Some of these geniuses were even successors or descendants of sovereigns. Let's go. Zhao Feng's figure flashed and floated down from the mountain. As his god spiritual, I soon found a direction. At a certain instant, an ice sapphire crystal bow appeared in Zhao Feng's hand, and 3 arrows were attached to it. Shio! An arrow of lightning and ice shot into the forest. The speed was twice as fast as sound. Arg! A youth dressed in dark clothes fell to the ground with a plop. His shoulder had been pierced through by the Luoho arrow, and lightning as well as ice eroded his body and made him unable to move. How is this possible? How could you see past my dark secret hiding technique? The youth in dark clothes was stunned. Meow meow. A silver-gray cat appeared out of nowhere then with a schwa. Stole his true dragon token. The second round was far more cruel and competitive. So Zhao Feng let the little thieving cat help him. The little thieving cat was his spiritual pet, and even if it appeared in the first round there would be no problems, so the second was also fine. You're Zhao Feng. The dark-dressed youth could only watch the little thieving cat steal his true dragon token, and his dragon blessing go to Zhao Feng. Being the number one black horse of this sacred true dragon gathering and fighting an overwhelming prodigy to a draw, he obviously knew Zhao Feng. Xiao, bang, bang. Zhao Feng didn't bother replying and fired 2 arrows in the blink of an eye as it shot towards the clouds. The new Luoho bow was created by Taigon Master, and both the bow and arrows were close to the middle-tier spiritual grade. Combined, they even surpassed normal middle-tier spiritual grade items. Shush! A Luoho arrow flashed by and another figure fell. This genius Cultivation had reached the true mystic rank, and after the arrow hit him his body went numb and cold as he fell down, losing 80 to 90% of his battle power. How's this possible? I just flew here. The true mystic rank expert gritted his teeth and tried to circulate his chi of true spirit. Before he reached the ground, he heard a meow meow, and a silver-gray little cat appeared next to him like a fox. Schwa! A dark silver blood whip wrapped around his body and sucked his blood essence. Meow meow! The little thieving cat jumped onto him with malicious intent and tried to take his true dragon token. Don't even think about it. This genius was after all at the true mystic rank and furiously circulated his chi of true spirit, creating a gust of powerful wind. Pa! A cat paw slapped his face heavily, and he felt the sky spin as his face burned. Before he could react, the little thieving cat had taken his true dragon token and handed it over to its owner. A helper's pretty nice. Increases my speed. Zhao Feng's dragon blessing became brighter and more gold came out. 1/3 of the silver token had turned into gold, and a faint gold and silver dragon seemed to wrap around him. Next, Zhao Feng's god spiritual I could, in theory, see through everything here as long as there wasn't a large item in the way. Instantly, the cat and human jumped around the dimension and used different methods to steal one true dragon token after another with ease. The sound of the Luoho bow meant someone's defeat. In the spectating stand, the experts of every faction had wide eyes. Fuck! That's way too fast. This Zhao Feng seems to be familiar with the landscape, and no one hiding can escape his eyes. Zhao Feng's figure passed through the dimension and caught whoever he saw. Legendary archery skills plus unparalleled eyesight made this black horse become a fish in the water in this environment. The efficiency rate and speed made others cluck their tongues, and the sovereigns on the stage were stunned and shocked. This Zhao Feng's already controlled the landscape and even the entire situation. A light flashed in the bronze-skinned giant's eyes as he said solemnly, "Although his eye bloodline is strong, isn't controlling the entire situation a bit exaggerated?" A female sovereign said in surprise. "If you pay attention, you'll realize that wherever he goes, he'll meet a genius. Furthermore, he maintains a distance with the 5 overwhelming prodigies and geniuses of the first tier. This way his harvesting could be said to be the highest." The bronze-skinned giant's use of the word harvesting made the other sovereigns nod. All of Zhao Feng's opponents would have their true dragon token stolen in the shortest amount of time. His methods weren't as savage as Taiyun Xianxi's. He would either sneak attack or steal the true dragon tokens. Sometimes Zhao Feng didn't even need to defeat the opponent. By working with the little thieving cat, they could steal the opponent's true dragon token. I have to admit that Small Cat greatly increases his efficiency rate and uses the smallest price to achieve the goal. The Mystic Sword Sovereign inspected the little thieving cat next to Zhao Feng. The little thieving cat's signaling move was a cat paw that left behind a burning paw mark on the opponent's face. Even those at the true mystic rank would feel dizzy when hit by the cat paw. And looks like you who's in the growing stage has grown in every aspect. Zhao Feng patted the little thieving cat's head in satisfaction. The little thieving cat had eaten an enormous amount of his treasures, and half of the rewards from the Water Moon Treasury had been eaten by this cat. Of course, the effects were also obvious. The little thieving cat's strength had risen quite a bit, and although might not be a true mystic ranks match head-on, it could trick a true mystic rank or two without any problems. Zhao Feng wasn't clear about the little thieving cat's ability. The little thieving cat's agility was supreme, and its stealth was incredible. Even Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye could only sometimes see it. Although its cat paw's power was average, it could daze even those at the true mystic rank. Meow meow. The little thieving cat cracked a smile, then put its paws on its waist and wagged its tail. It then made actions saying that it was the only one in the world, and everyone could clearly see what it meant. Ha ha ha, the spectators couldn't help but laugh. Ha ha. This cat's pretty interesting. Its history probably isn't simple. The sovereigns on the stage smiled. Meow meow. The little thieving cat stood on Zhao Feng's shoulder and made a face towards the transparent light. What? The expressions of the 9 sovereigns changed. This cat could see them? The sovereigns looked at each other. So, the little thieving cat could see them, but to be disrespectful to a sovereign? Unknowingly, the little thieving cat had gathered many fans, most of them females. Even the female sovereigns on the stage stared at the little thieving cat with love. I love this cat. I'll trade something for it with the kid later, a green-dressed female sovereign said. It was obvious that she liked the little thieving cat. This cat definitely has a powerful and mysterious ancient bloodline. It looks like it's made a blood pact with the kid. Green Moon Sovereign, are you going to force this trade? The Mystic Sword Sovereign taunted with a smile. This kid comes from the Iron Blood religion and has a sovereign behind him who used to be a Sacred Alliance member. He had once fought with me against the Scarlet Moon Religion Patriarch and contributed a lot for the Sacred Alliance. The bronze-skinned giant seemed to casually say, but was warning her not to force the trade. I'll make him trade it willingly, the Green Moon Sovereign said confidently. Inside the transparent light dimension, time flew by and another 2 days passed. As the fighting continued, the number of true dragon tokens was decreasing. Those that had lost their true dragon tokens became crazy and counterattacked. Killing, teaming up, sneaking, every method was used. Under this situation, teams were formed. At this time, Zhao Feng's harvesting speed slowed down. This was because there was less true dragon tokens around, as the stolen true dragon tokens would shatter after losing all its dragon blessing. Of course, the quantity of dragon blessing within each true dragon token was higher. Every true dragon token had at least reached the faint silver level, and Zhao Feng's true dragon token was now pure gold. His body was surrounded with a gold light, and his dragon blessing was incredible. My dragon blessing is comparable to the dragon blessings the overwhelming prodigies had at the first round, but after entering this dimension their dragon blessings would also increase. Zhao Feng analyzed. He estimated that his dragon blessing was at least in the top 10 and only below the 5 overwhelming prodigies. The sovereigns watching the transparent light found that there were 6 faint golden dragon blessing figures, all at least 1 yard high. Amongst them, Yu Tianhao and Taiyun Xianxi's was almost 2 yards. The reason it was 6 and not 5 was that one of them was incredibly close to the 5 overwhelming prodigies, and the source of this was Zhao Feng. Of the 6 golden dragon blessings, Zhao Feng's was the weakest. Above him was Goddess Bingwei, as all the other prodigies had won all their matches in the first round, and she drew with Zhao Feng, losing 1/5 of her dragon blessing. Within the transparent light dimension, 6 golden dragon blessings roared, and it could be heard from far away. The true dragon token was a weird item that couldn't be stored in the interspatial items, therefore the 5 overwhelming prodigies and Zhao Feng couldn't conceal their aura. 6 golden dragon blessings? Is another overwhelming prodigy going to appear this sacred true dragon gathering? Up to now, Zhao Feng has the highest chance to become the 6th overwhelming prodigy and push this era to a peak. The spectators were all excited and full of expectations. Although they had lost control of this sacred true dragon gathering, it had become more exciting. Right now, there was over 20 dead geniuses and dozens of crippled geniuses. From this one could see the intense competition. As time passed, the fighting became fiercer and deaths and injuries kept on appearing. There's less and less targets. Zhao Feng flew around on the three-flowered treasured lotus. He found many targets, but they didn't have true dragon tokens or had formed a large party, making it hard to attack them. Run! It's golden dragon blessing. Could this Zhao Feng going to become a new overwhelming prodigy? He's already reached 6th in terms of dragon blessing. The geniuses found Zhao Feng from far away and ran away. At this moment there was 6 shining golden lights and others could feel this powerful dragon blessing from dozens of miles away. It's Zhao Feng. He's become the 6th strongest dragon blessing genius and is almost at the 5 overwhelming prodigies level. Emotiani felt the golden dragon blessing from far away and the surrounding geniuses all scattered. Fight or retreat? Emotiani was going in Zhao Feng's direction and was facing a difficult choice inside the transparent bubble of light. Emotiani's eyes glittered and his figure was still. Beside him was 2 other geniuses of the heavenly Yuan clan. One of them was Zhao Yufei and the other was the yellow-faced man who was ranked number 2 in the clan. Brother Zhao Feng. Zhao Yufei watched the golden dragon blessing with joy and worry. The 3 geniuses of the heavenly Yuan clan were all at least faint gold and Emotiani's was pure gold but not bright enough to make a dragon appear. Brother Mo, what do we do? The yellow-faced man's heart tightened. Zhao Feng's stride in this sacred true dragon gathering was too strong and had fought against an overwhelming prodigy. He was without a doubt the number 1 black horse and no one questioned that he was the top genius under the 5 overwhelming prodigies. Now Zhao Feng's dragon blessing almost rivaled the 5 overwhelming prodigies. If he wants to fight, then we shall fight. Emotiani's expression was solemn and wasn't as casual as he first met Zhao Feng. Back at the Northern Star Stand, Emotiani's first opinion of Zhao Feng was so-so. And now it was like he was facing a great danger. He had watched the entire battle between Zhao Feng and Goddess Bing Wei of the Battle of 5 Zones and saw how Zhao Feng had created a miracle. He was shocked and stunned at that time. No matter how arrogant and proud he was, he had to admit the opponent was terrifying. The yellow-faced man's eyes twinkled as he said, "If us 3 team up, we definitely won't lose." The chances were unlikely if it was just Emotiani against Zhao Feng, but if it added on him and Zhao Yufei, the result would be different. After all, there was no rules here. Teaming up or sneak attacks were allowed. You 2 don't interfere no matter the result. Emotiani took a deep breath and ordered. He felt embarrassed at what his junior martial brother had suggested. Being the head disciple of one of the 10 great clans and the legend of the northern continent, how would Emotiani team up to challenge a newbie? So, Zhao Feng stood on the 3-flowered treasured lotus and was heading towards Emotiani and company's direction as his god's spiritual eye scanned around. As the 2 sides were closing in, the atmosphere became heavy and the geniuses watching from afar held their breaths. The spectators outside and sovereigns watched with interest. Zhao Feng had the god's spiritual eye and obviously saw Emotiani and company, but he didn't back down and carried forwards. The atmosphere became tenser and Zhao Yufei's heart jumped. Would brother Zhao Feng attack them? According to previous experience, once Zhao Feng attacked, there was almost no chance of failing. Looks like this battle is unavoidable. Emotiani's chi of true spirit started to circulate, and his actions connected with the heaven-earth Yuan Qi. The air seemed to contain one mountain after another. Zhao Yufei and the yellow-faced man retreated a certain distance, not going to interrupt Zhao Feng and Emotiani's battle. Before this, Emotiani had been the top genius of the northern continent and even Xian Wuheng, Xianxia and company had lost to him before. Wang. Zhao Feng's left eye flashed with a transparent azure lightning flame. The color wasn't faint azure anymore. The azure lightning flame sparkled and looked extremely beautiful but was contained with critical danger. Emotiani and company all yelled shit in their hearts. Zhao Feng had used this lightning fire god's eye back at the Battle of 5 Zones and its power was comparable or even more terrifying than the successors of the 3 major eye families. Even Goddess Bing Wei was wary of this skill. Plus, Zhao Feng's cultivation was now at the peak true human rank and the lightning fire god's eye's power had obviously increased. At this instance, both Emotiani and the yellow-faced man tensed up. Everyone understood that Zhao Feng's eye skill was almost impossible to avoid. No one at the true spirit realm could dodge it. Although the yellow-faced man had the cultivation of the true mystic rank, he felt as if his flesh and mind was burning. Emotiani seemed calm on the outside but had no confidence against the lightning fire god's eye. Lightning fire god's eye. Zhao Feng's left eye flashed with a transparent azure lightning flame. At that moment in time, Emotiani and the yellow-faced man's heart both jumped. Boom! The lightning flame god's eye started to burn in a lake 2 miles out, and the devastating power instantly evaporated all the water within a yard radius. Ah! A scream came from the lake and a ghost-eyed man tumbled out. Ghost-eyed man! It's him! The successor of one of the 3 eye families. The Wu family. Emotiani and those watching exclaimed and felt lucky. Every saw that the ghost-eyed man's body as burning with an azure flame and lightning flashed everywhere. The power of lightning fire could attack both the physical and mental energy dimension. Shameless bastard! Sneaking up on me. The ghost-eyed man finally put on the lightning fire, but his face was pale. You've been hiding in the lake for a long time now. What good intentions do you have? Zhao Feng's face was cold and seems to have victory in grasp. His lightning fire god's eye had already injured the ghost-eyed man both physically and mentally. The ghost-eyed man gritted his teeth as he endured the burning in his mental energy dimension. A transparent azure flame was burning in his mental energy dimension and lightning crackled. That pain was 10 times to 100 times than physical pain. If it wasn't because he had an eye bloodline, he might have already crumbled. Seeing Zhao Feng close in, the ghost-eyed man turned into a shadow that disappeared. However, no matter how he ran, he couldn't run past Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye. Ghost Eye Soul Burner! The ghost-eyed man gritted his teeth as a dark flame glowed in his eyes. Dark gray fire instantly wrapped around Zhao Feng's body, and that cold aura made Zhao Feng uneasy. Zhao Feng wore the heavenly Luo mystic cloak, but it was unharmed. He activated his bloodline power and an ice void figure appeared behind him. Wang, a light of ice and lightning put out the dark gray flames which seemed to meet its match. The ice instantly put out the flames and the lightning perfectly countered the darkness. As for the mental energy level, Zhao Feng once again circulated his lightning fire god's eye and put out the burn in mental energy. His mental energy source far surpassed the ghost-eyed man and remained uninjured. Brat, you stole my bloodline technique and is now repaying gratitude with vengeance. The ghost-eyed man howled, his voice trembling with obvious fear. Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye perfectly countered all his skills, including his bloodline power and stealth. The lightning fire god's eye had copied his ghost eye soul burner, but the former easily suppressed the latter. Powers such as lightning and fire was a huge counter for ghosts and the wicked path. Furthermore, Zhao Feng's bloodline was stronger. Eye of Ice Soul. Zhao Feng's left eye turned into a freezing pond, and the power of ice eroded the opponent's mental energy. See. The ghost-eyed man seemed to fall into an ice cave. He was trembling and hiccuping as the coldness traveled and eroded his thoughts. Before it was lightning and fire, now it was ice. The ghost-eyed man had taken Zhao Feng's dual skies of ice and fire, and his mind was injured. After being hit by the Eye of Ice Soul, the ghost-eyed man's actions became very slow. People's actions were controlled by thoughts, and when thoughts became frozen, it wasn't much different from being frozen. Indeed, worthy of being one of the 3 major eye families. After being hit by 2 of my skills, he's only injured and isn't in a life or death situation. Zhao Feng couldn't help but admire. Zhao Feng's dual skies of ice and fire could end most normal early-stage true mystic ranks. Although the Eye of Ice Soul wasn't explosive, it could last a long time. Zhao Feng's left eye was like a crystal that locked onto the ghost-eyed man and made the latter keep on hiccuping. His actions and expressions were all slowed down. Meow meow. An agile dark silver whip seemed to appear from out of nowhere and wrap towards the ghost-eyed man. Voila! The whip tightened around ghost-eyed man and started to suck his blood essence. This was a powerful blood from one of the 3 eye families. Don't you dare steal my true dragon token. The ghost-eyed man's face contorted and his dark gray eyes flashed with blood lines, as if he was going to use a more powerful secret technique. Pa! The little thieving cat slapped his face with a paw, and he instantly didn't know which direction was which way. Plop! The ghost-eyed man kneeled on the ground, and before he could react, the cat that had stolen his true dragon token had disappeared. And not bad. Zhao Feng soon received a gold true dragon token that was on par with Emotiani's. Wang, in that instance, his golden dragon immediately rose by 1/3. Within the bubble of transparent light, the other 5 golden dragons seemed to sense something and let out a deep roar. At this point in time, all the geniuses within this dimension could feel a 6th terrifying dragon blessing. Anyone within a 100-mile radius could see the golden dragon with their naked eye. Zhao Feng's dragon blessing has reached the 5 overwhelming prodigies level. Could he become this generation's 6th overwhelming prodigy? The spectators broke out into chaos. If this continued, he definitely would. Emotiani had watched Zhao Feng defeated the ghost-eyed man and take his true dragon token from start to finish. This process left him shocked and a heavy heart. One had to know the ghost-eyed man was at the same level as him, experts of the first tier. Right at this moment. So, Zhao Feng flew towards Emotiani, his blue hair dazzling. Not good. Emotiani and the yellow-faced man's expression changed and even had the thoughts to run. Zhao Feng suddenly closing in made Emotiani feel a great pressure. His face was wary and didn't dare easily make a move. In terms of attack speed, Zhao Feng's eye bloodline easily surpassed his. Facing this kind of opponent, both Emotiani and the yellow-faced man tightened their hearts, not daring to relax. Zhao Feng, all of us comes from the northern continent. Do you really want to be the heavenly Yuan clan's enemy? The yellow-faced man threatened, but his wary and uneasy expression made his words unconfident. The heavenly Yuan clan was one of the 10 great clans, and putting aside the mystic ice palace, they were the strongest force that surpassed even the 3 great countries. However, Zhao Feng didn't seem to hear what he said and closed in. He didn't even look at them. Zhao Feng, you're still not a true overwhelming prodigy, so don't think I can be bullied easily. Emotiani finally couldn't hold back and unleashed his chi of true spirit through his air. Invisible mountains seemed to descend from the sky. Yuan Mountain Great Secret Palm. A shining chi of true spirit flashed around a 100-yard radius, and the palm was like a metal mountain that crushed over the arena. When that palm was thrust out, the surrounding earth seemed to be compressed. Zhao Feng's heart dropped as his blood and chi of true spirit was pressured. It was as if he was facing an unmovable mountain, and no matter what he did was futile. Wang, an ice throne and figure appeared behind Zhao Feng, and with the thrust of a palm, the 2 powers of lightning and ice interacted, creating a flower. The flower made from lightning and ice clashed with the Yuan Mountain Great Secret Palm and instantly exploded. Boom! A part of lightning and ice suddenly rebounded back towards Zhao Feng. The latter was slightly surprised. His god spiritual eye had analyzed the Emotiani's Yuan Mountain Great Secret Technique's insights and didn't expect a part to be rebounded. Luckily, he was prepared, and the 3 petals of the 3-flowered treasured lotus enveloped him, and the heavenly Luo mystic armor also blocked a partial percentage of the damage. No one got the advantage in that clash. This Emotiani's Yuan Mountain Great Secret Technique contains the elements of gold and earth. Those at the same level can't take care of him, and attacks would instead be rebounded. Zhao Feng realized. Unless he had the unparalleled power like Yu Tianhao and completely suppress him, it would be a difficult battle. In reality, the best way to deal with Emotiani was through the Eye Bloodline or Water Moon God Peach Fan. However, Zhao Feng wasn't here to fight Emotiani. Yufei. Zhao Feng didn't continue attacking and instead turned towards Zhao Yufei. Brother Zhao Feng, you came here just for me? Zhao Yufei smiled. Zhao Feng's target was Zhao Yufei. So you two know each other. The yellow-faced man let out a breath as Emotiani understood. Back at the Northern Star stand, Zhao Feng had seen Zhao Yufei, but they didn't talk and instead simply interacted through mental energy. He had done this also with Xian Wuheng, Zhang Yue, and Bei Moi. At that time, Zhao Feng was grasping every moment in time to improve, or else the scene wouldn't happen. Zhao Yufei felt slightly curious. Why did Zhao Feng suddenly come over to find her? She realized that Zhao Feng's hair and left eye had turned blue and was colder than the youth in her memories. There's one thing I need to work with the 3. Zhao Feng's gaze scanned over Emotiani and the yellow-faced man. Teamwork? Emotiani couldn't help but feel surprised. He didn't know Zhao Feng well and had only seen him once or twice. The only person that did was Zhao Yufei, and even she was curious about Zhao Feng's suggestion. In theory, if Zhao Feng could hold his own against an overwhelming prodigy, then he shouldn't be scared of anything in the sacred true dragon gathering. Zhao Feng didn't speak and looked at the three in the eye. Shua! In the next instant, the four entered an elegant room, and Emotiani, Zhao Yufei and the yellow-faced man sat on a seat each. In front of them was Zhao Feng. This was the way they would communicate. Emotiani and company were stunned. They hadn't thought that Zhao Feng's mental energy skill had reached this level. This is a simple mental energy illusion. Zhao Feng faintly smiled. He had stepped in the ancient Tao of the soul and touched the dark eye incomplete page, hence had a deeper understanding in mental energy. This scene was just based on mental energy and was very rough. Could be extremely easy to determine whether it was real or fake. No one outside could also see what happened and went on inside. At the same time, the 9 sovereigns looked at Zhao Feng and could guess a thing or two about their states. This Zhao Feng's dragon blessing is about the 5 overwhelming prodigies level. The sovereigns placed great importance on this, as the sacred true dragon gathering rankings were determined by the amount of dragon blessing. In terms of pure dragon blessing, he's indeed at the overwhelming prodigy level. His only weakness is that he's still a bit away from the overwhelming prodigy's battle power. The bronze-skinned giant concluded, and the other sovereigns nodded. The reason why Zhao Feng didn't lose to Goddess Bingwei was because the former perfectly countered the latter. If it was another overwhelming prodigy in her place, Zhao Feng probably would have lost horribly. Having the dragon blessing of an overwhelming prodigy but not the strength of one. Would the other overwhelming prodigies let him be? The Green Moon female sovereign smiled. Up to now, Zhao Feng's dragon blessing was the smallest of the 6 and only close to Goddess Bingwei. However, his rate of growth was too fast and might even surpass an overwhelming genius, if not the majority. However, being in this situation, how wouldn't Zhao Feng not know this? Within the mental illusion room, Zhao Feng and Emotiani talked for a long time, but in the physical world only a breath had passed. Zhao Feng, you ask for too much. You want us 3 heavenly Yuan clan disciples to protect you, Emotiani said in dissatisfaction. I've already said what I'll give you and will help double the amount of your dragon blessing. Plus I'll also give some mystic flower saint liquid to help Yufei break through. If I'm correct, Yufei Cultivation has reached near the peak true human rank but has a pure chi of true spirit and has fulfilled the requirements to break through to the true mystic rank. This is a win-win situation. Zhao Feng once again stated out the deal. His deal was pretty good, but Emotiani was bargaining for more. Emotiani's eyes twinkled. Zhao Feng, I can tell from the exchange just then that there's still a bit of difference between you and a true overwhelming prodigy. With such a large amount of dragon blessing and having offended Goddess Bingwei, once any 2 overwhelming prodigies team up, they can force you into despair. When Zhao Feng asked for protection, how could Emotiani not see the situation? Zhao Feng was still a bit off an overwhelming prodigy, but once he reached the true mystic rank, it would shorten the gap between them. This was Zhao Feng's weakness. He had used the god's spiritual eye to control the situation and had purposely avoided the 5 overwhelming prodigies, but now his dragon blessing was almost on par with them, and that made the situation bad. Zhao Feng, the moment you reach the true mystic rank, you will become the 6th overwhelming prodigy. How will we know if you decide to attack us then? The yellow-faced man was still wary. I believe in brother Zhao Feng. Zhao Yufei trusted Zhao Feng and was willing to work together. Therefore, Emotiani and company couldn't really disagree. If I succeed, I'll try help the heavenly Yuan clan out and can even sign a blood contract. Zhao Feng promised. Hearing this, the yellow-faced man and Emotiani were moved. We don't need the blood contract. I believe in Yufei and you. Emotiani nodded his head and the 2 sides reached an agreement. Emotiani and company would protect Zhao Feng, while the latter would increase their dragon blessing by 1 times more and give some mystic flower saint liquid to Zhao Yufei to help increase the heavenly Yuan clan's overall strength. Finally, If Zhao Feng succeeded, he would help the Heavenly Yuan clan out. Although it seemed it wasn't worth it for Zhao Feng, it was in reality win-win. After all, Zhao Feng was just a step away from the top 3 in the Sacred True Dragon Gathering, or even first. Next, Zhao Feng, Mo Tianyi and company started to steal True Dragon tokens. Because of the god's spiritual eye, Zhao Feng could soon find a target, but because his dragon blessing was too big, the others could see him from far away and would run. Therefore Zhao Feng made Mo Tianyi and company ambush them with the help of the little thieving cat. Within half a day, the 4 had succeeded in ambushing 5 to 6 geniuses, including Qin Kunwu of the first tier. Mo Tianyi, Zhao Yufei and the yellow-faced man's dragon blessing had all doubled, and under Zhao Feng's purposeful help Zhao Yufei's dragon blessing was close to Mo Tianyi's. It's about time to find a quiet place and you guys to help me. Zhao Feng nodded his head. He had found the place a long time ago and the path was very stealthy, hard to be found by others. Zhao Feng's god spiritual eye once again surveyed the place and paid attention to the 5 prodigies situation. In the northwest direction, Tantai Lanyue and Shi Chengtian teamed up and fought Yu Tianhao. They made the heavens dark and mountains within several miles to shatter. Goddess Bingwei hid and watched the battle between Yu Tianhao, Tantai Lanyue and Shi Chengtian. As for Taiyun Shuangzi, the pair of brothers were killing everyone nearby. This is the perfect moment. Zhao Feng opened his god's spiritual eye and led Mo Tianyi and co. into a river of the southeast corner and started to descend. Soon, Zhao Feng reached a man-made cave in the depths of the river. Although it's hard to find this place, your dragon blessing is still too much. Once someone gets close, they'll still be able to sense it. Mo Tianyi's eyebrows furrowed. Hee. Thanks, brother Mo. Zhao Feng's smile was smug as he closed his eyes and didn't seem to pay any more attention to the outside world anymore. Within the cave, Zhao Feng sat cross-legged with Zhao Yufei next to him. Mo Tianyi and the yellow-faced man were responsible for protecting them and inspecting the situation around. Meow meow. The little thieving cat appeared holding the mystic snake blood whip and stood next to its owner, becoming the closest guard. The reason why Zhao Feng could trust Mo Tianyi was because of Zhao Yufei. Of course, Zhao Feng wouldn't put all his safety concerns to others. The reason why he let Mo Tianyi protect him was because he still had something to rely on. I've already passed the most difficult part of the breaking through to the true mystic rank, the root of law. Now I only need to condense and refine the water moon pirate's source of true spirit. Although Zhao Feng was closing his eyes, he always left a bit of focus on the outside world. Furthermore, he still had the little thieving cat guarding him. Zhao Yufei could be considered a friend that had grown up with him. If Zhao Feng and Mo Tianyi started fighting, Zhao Yufei was more likely to protect the former. The worst result was Zhao Feng failing to break through, but there would be no dangers. Therefore, this deal was worth a try. Yufei, here's the Mystic Flower Saint Liquid. Zhao Feng handed over a small bottle to Zhao Yufei. The Mystic Flower Saint Liquid was made from the 100 Flower Saint Liquid and 3 other Saint Liquids, forming a supreme liquid. It helped those at the true spirit realm comprehend the root of law and increase the chances of reaching the true mystic rank by 30%. Zhao Feng's price for the deal seemed bad, but the Mystic Flower Saint Liquid would end up in Zhao Yufei's hands in the end, so Zhao Feng didn't mind it. Plus, the Mystic Flower Saint Liquid's main use was to increase the mental energy senses, so wasn't much help to Zhao Feng, who had already formed a root of law. The yellow-faced man and Mo Tianyi were both at the true mystic rank and obviously didn't need this as well. The Mystic Flower Saint Liquid was given to Zhao Yufei as part of the deal, but was without a doubt the best result. Brother Zhao Feng, I coincidentally have a lightning mystic stone from entering the clan's inheritance last time. Zhao Yufei handed over a natural purple lightning stone to Zhao Feng. This stone's appearance instantly caused the heaven-earth yuan qi to move and Zhao Feng's qi of true spirit to tremble with excitement. It's the lightning mystic stone. The requirements of this stone are to pass through the countless washing of heaven and earth lightning until it contains the profoundness of lightning. Zhao Feng was overjoyed as he received this stone. In terms of value, Zhao Feng's lightning mystic stone wasn't any lower than the Mystic Flower Saint Liquid. This scene obviously fell into Mo Tianyi's eyes. The interaction between Zhao Feng and Zhao Yufei made him feel complex. Even in the world of clans, martial brothers would calculate one another and even kill them if there was enough profit. Emotiani was used to this and was lonely, cold. On the other hand, Zhao Feng and Zhao Yufei didn't have any tricks. After all, the two had grown up together. Last time a martial uncle had asked to trade something for the lightning mystic stone off sister Yufei, but I remember her saying that she had already traded the lightning mystic stone. I didn't think she still had it. The yellow-faced man's eyes twinkled as he guessed the connection between the two. Could these two be related by blood? The cave was dead silent. Zhao Feng gripped the lightning mystic stone and wisps of pure lightning essence was sucked into his body, then refined by his true spirit lightning fire. Originally Zhao Feng worried about his lightning inheritance source of true spirit would be replaced by the water moon pirates, but with the lightning mystic stone, the process would slow down substantially. What made Zhao Feng surprised was that the lightning within the lightning mystic stone was more compatible with nature and purer than his own lightning inheritance. The lightning insights contained with it could perfect and replenish Zhao Feng's comprehension of lightning. Within his mind, the tower representing the lightning inheritance. The second floor had fully lit up and the third floor had the signs of light appearing. Unknowingly Zhao Feng had reached the peak of the second floor and according to the description of the lightning inheritance, the third floor needed the cultivation of the True Lord rank to comprehend. Sizzles of azure lightning appeared around Zhao Feng and moved agilely, but none of them hit the little thieving cat. Time passed slowly. Zhao Feng kept on absorbing the essence of the lightning mystic stone, while also absorbing and refining the water moon pirate's source of true spirit. This still meant that Zhao Feng's source of true spirit was dominated by the power of lightning. On the other side, Zhao Yufei received the mystic flower saint liquid and felt refreshed. Her situation was the complete opposite of Zhao Feng's. Zhao Feng's mental energy level surpassed his cultivation and it was his qi of true spirit that was lacking, whereas Zhao Yufei's bloodline had retraced back to its ancestor and had a high compatibility with the heaven-earth yuan qi. Her qi of true spirit was pure, and her flesh could merge with the heaven-earth yuan qi. The true spirit yuan qi she had was several times the norm. This meant that as long as her mental energy level was enough, Zhao Yufei could rapidly increase her cultivation. Zhao Feng's god spiritual eye saw all this with a glance. It had to be said that Zhao Feng and Zhao Yufei had helped one another and the former suddenly remembered the yin-yang trading technique. If it could be used, Zhao Feng's mental energy level could help Zhao Yufei's and Zhao Yufei's pure qi of true spirit could help Zhao Feng. However, this thought flashed by in Zhao Feng's mind. Just as the water moon pirate said, although the mystic flower treasured Bible was powerful, it wasn't the best path. When Zhao Feng and Zhao Yufei were in seclusion, Emotiani and company were doing their job. There was the occasional genius that came here and Emotiani and co. would chase them away. Zhao Feng's dragon blessing was too enormous and those that got close would be able to easily sense it. With Emotiani and company's strength and dragon blessing, the normal geniuses that came by would usually quickly retreat. As long as they didn't meet the overwhelming prodigies, Emotiani didn't need to fear anything. His only worry was what if the overwhelming prodigies came. As long as the overwhelming prodigies didn't meet another, they were unbeatable existences. Under normal situations Emotiani could escape if he met an overwhelming prodigy, but now he needed to guard Zhao Feng. Even if it wasn't because of Zhao Feng, he still needed to take care of his junior martial sister, who was also a disciple of a sovereign. This Zhao Feng sure does know to plan and dragged sister Yufei down as well. Emotiani knew he couldn't retreat. Zhao Feng was now on the heavenly Yuan clan's boat. On the second day Zhao Feng was in seclusion, a first-tier genius arrived. If it was a normal first-tier genius such as Qin Kunwu, Xia Xianxia or company, Emotiani was confident he could take care of them. However, this first-tier genius was the successor of one of the three major I families, the Tuoba family Tuoba Qi. Tuoba Qi's performance was even better than Emotiani's in the sacred True Dragon gathering. In the air Emotiani and Tuoba Qi looked at each other. Tuoba Qi had a cold smile on his face and wasn't scared of the two true mystic ranks. His heavenly piercing eye was almost instantly slash his opponent and rarely be dodged. The atmosphere became tense and the people outside the bubble of light were interested in what was going to happen next. The sovereigns and spectators watching obviously knew that Emotiani was protecting Zhao Feng. Wang, who? Right at this moment a powerful aura surged from the river and the faint shadow of a golden dragon seemed to appear. Tuoba Chi's heart went cold, and an ice-cold I seemed to lock onto him. Looking at the golden dragon again, Tuoba Chi seemed to guess something, and his expression became solemn. Shua! Tuoba Chi instantly turned around and left. Facing the sixth strongest dragon blessing holder and a person also with a powerful eye bloodline, Tuoba Chi didn't have any confidence, especially with Mo Tianyi and company there. He had watched Zhao Feng and Goddess Bing Wei's battle, and heard of the news of the ghost-eyed man being defeated by Zhao Feng. It was because of this he chose to retreat. Mo Tianyi and company let out a breath. Tuoba Chi's heavenly piercing eye was terrifying and hard to fun against. Before there was even a first-tier expert that was defeated by Tuoba Chi in one eye. Even Mo Tianyi didn't know the outcome if he fought Tuoba Chi. Looks like the sixth dragon's fame is pretty big. The yellow-faced man couldn't help looking down at the lake and say. Zhao Feng returned to his cave and resumed cultivation. Because he had already formed the root of law, Zhao Feng only needed to convert and purify the chi of true spirit, so he could exit cultivation anytime he wanted. Anytime a powerful genius appeared and didn't retreat, Zhao Feng would release some aura. Apart from the 5 overwhelming prodigies, no one dared to go up against Zhao Feng, and Mo Tianyi teamed up. 3 days soon passed, and Zhao Feng's source of true spirit expanded to the peak true human rank. He was just a little bit away from reaching the true mystic rank. This guy's growth rate is way too fast. Mo Tianyi clucked his tongue. He thought that Zhao Feng would need 10 to 15 days to reach the true mystic rank, but right now, it seemed like he only needed 4 or 5. This is the last day. Guard it well. Zhao Feng took a deep breath and focused on cultivating. In reality, because Zhao Feng and Mo Tianyi were here, many geniuses put this place down as a forbidden area. Not many people came here. However, right on this day a surge of powerful aura came from in front. A shining dragon could be seen. Not good. There's an overwhelming prodigy approaching. Mo Tianyi and the yellow-faced man's expression both changed dramatically and immediately warned Zhao Feng. Overwhelming prodigy? Could it be Goddess Bing Wei? Zhao Feng's expression drooped. He opened his god's spiritual eye and looked out. In the air, a beautiful woman sat on a large colorful bird and held a 5-colored glass whip. Her eyes were pure and bright. Overwhelming prodigy. Tantai Lanyue. Mo Tianyi and the yellow-faced man exclaimed in panic. The newcomer was Tantai Lanyue, one of the most unique, overwhelming prodigies. Tantai Lanyue wore a colored dress and revealed snow-white long legs. She was extremely alluring and was like the girl from next door. In terms of pure cultivation, Tantai Lanyue was the lowest amongst the 5 overwhelming prodigies, the same as Mo Tianyi. However, right now Mo Tianyi's expression was solemn. The opponent was a beast tamer, and their biggest reliance wasn't themselves but their spiritual pets. For example, the big carrying Tantai Lanyue's battle power was comparable to the peak true mystic rank, and she had a total of 2 pets like this. What was more terrifying was that Tantai Lanyue still had a king card, and the horned earth dragon was an ancient beast with a powerful bloodline whose battle power was close to the true lord rank. She also had more than a dozen spiritual pets who had weird abilities and could face all types of situations. Furthermore, being the #1 genius of the best taming family, Tantai Lanyue's mental energy source was extremely powerful and close to the true lord rank. As Tantai Lanyue came closer, the bird comparable to the peak true lord rank brought a pressure to Mo Tianyi and company, who panicked in their hearts. So, Tantai Lanyue's flying speed was extremely fast and her eyebrows lightly furrowed as she locked onto Mo Tianyi and company. At the same time, a powerful dragon blessing surged from the river that was almost on par with Tantai Lanyue. Within the cave, Zhao Feng locked onto Tantai Lanyue with his god's spiritual eye. This girl has a large mental energy source and can use mental energy well. Zhao Feng felt troubled. This meant that Tantai Lanyue had a strong resilience towards Zhao Feng's eye bloodline and far surpassed Goddess Bing Wei. She could be Zhao Feng's nemesis. Zhao Feng didn't conceal his aura and used his god's spiritual eye to warn Tantai Lanyue. If Tantai Lanyue had bad intentions, Zhao Feng would have to team up with Mo Tianyi and company to fight against her. Hehe, you're that Zhao Feng? I suggest you to not try anything. Your mental energy is useless against me. Tantai Lanua's spiritual sense was even top tier amongst the 5 overwhelming prodigies and soon found Zhao Feng's position. Zhao Feng didn't move and didn't say anything. His eye bloodline was biased towards mental energy and his head hurt from meeting Tantai Lanue. What scared? Tantai Lanue smiled and waved her 5-colored whip towards the river, ripping a hole in it. Waves rushed towards the cave Zhao Feng was at. Zhao Feng's eyes flashed. Tantai Lanua's actions were provoking him. Lightning fire God's eye. Zhao Feng's left eye flashed with an azure lighting fire. Who? A transparent lightning flame burned the bird under Tantai Lanua's feet. Instantly, the colored bird let out a screech that could be heard for dozens of miles. The lightning fire could burn both the physical and mental energy dimension. Although the colored bird wasn't severely injured, it was in pain and almost threw Tantai Lanue off. How dare you injured my little colored sparrow? Tantai Lanue yelled and flipped in the air before stabilizing herself. Her hair was messy and seemed ruffled. Bo! Another mental energy sound attack hit the colored bird, making the latter go crazy once more and made Tantai Lanue panic. Hee, although my eye bloodline might not have much an effect on you who has a strong source of mental energy, I am still a half-beast tamer and have methods to injure your spiritual pet. Zhao Feng smugly smiled as he said through the mental energy dimension. Being a beast tamer, Tantai Lanue loved every one of her spiritual pets, and a few days ago she had fought Yu Tianhao, injuring several of her stronger spiritual pets. However, she didn't expect to find another troublesome person that would attack her spiritual pets. Tantai Lanue bit her lips and hesitated whether to summon the horned earth dragon beast, her king card, but at this moment Zhao Feng and Goddess Bing Wei's battle appeared in her mind. Zhao Feng had too many methods and had strong defense. If she couldn't finish him off, it was the same as offending a troublesome figure that was almost as strong as an overwhelming genius. As Tantai Lanue was hesitating, another surging dragon blessing, even stronger than Zhao Feng and Tantai Lanue, appeared. A shining golden dragon could be seen from far away. After focusing to see who it was, they were all frightened. The newcomer was a black-haired youth and his eyes seemed to contain the universe. His every action contained confidence and solitude. You caught up so quickly? Tantai Lanue exclaimed. So, without even turning around, she summoned the colored bird and sped off into the distance. If there was anyone that could keep on beating Tantai Lanue in the sacred true dragon gathering, there would only be one person. Yu Tianhao, Mo Tianyi and the yellow-faced man all took a deep breath. The black-haired youth was the continent's top genius that surpassed geniuses of other generations. Although Yu Tianhao seemed to walk slowly, his speed was insanely quick and closed in on this direction. Tantai Lanue didn't have any will to battle. Thinking about the battle a few days ago, Tantai Lanue was still shocked. Yu Tianhao was a fighting maniac that had challenged Tantai Lanue and Xianxia at the same time without being disadvantaged. After that battle, several of Tantai Lanue's spiritual pets were injured, including the horned earth dragon beast. Even Xianxia, who specialized in defense, was covered in injuries. If it wasn't because that Xianxia had attracted Yu Tianhao away, Tantai Lanue's losses would probably be greater. Therefore, Tantai Lanue had started to run the second she saw Yu Tianhao. Before Mo Tianyi and company could let out a breath for Tantai Lanue's departure, another even more terrifying existence had come. Yu Tianhao. This name was enough to shake the sacred true dragon gathering and make any genius fear it. The other overwhelming prodigies would be wary and retreat when they met him. Shua! Shua! Within a few steps Yu Tianhao had appeared where Mo Tianyi was at. She ran away pretty fast. Yu Tianhao murmured to himself. In terms of flying speed, he didn't have much an advantage against her flying beast. He couldn't catch up to an overwhelming prodigy that focused solely on escaping. Yu Tianhao stood in the air and sent Tantai Lanue away with his eyes. Suddenly, his eyes scanned towards the depths of the river. Mo Tianyi and the yellow-faced man had both retreated to here. When Yu Tianhao's gaze scanned over, an aura comparable to the true lord rank appeared. Both Mo Tianyi and Zhao Feng felt unable to breathe, and their chi of true spirit was slightly restricted. If Zhao Feng's guesses were correct, Yu Tianhao had the peak true mystic rank cultivation but the mental energy level of the true lord rank. Does the sixth dragon blessing genius dare to fight me? Yu Tianhao didn't immediately make a move and a smile appeared on his mouth. A strong confidence and battle intent rose from him. Zhao Feng's heart dropped. He didn't think that Yu Tianhao had paid attention to him and was even now challenging him. Mo Tianyi's emotions were complex on the side. Yu Tianhao was a total battle maniac but rarely challenged anyone, especially those of the younger generation. However, Zhao Feng had entered Yu Tianhao's eyes and was an opponent. To be able to be seen as the number one prodigy's opponent, how much glory was this worth? At least Mo Tianyi had participated in 2 sacred true dragon gatherings, but Yu Tianhao hadn't paid attention to him and beat him easily. Facing Yu Tianhao's challenge, Zhao Feng was silent. He remembered Yu Tianhao's unparalleled under the heavens move, which had overwhelming offense, battle intent, and confidence. That confidence and belief was stronger than any sword or blade intent Zhao Feng had seen. Just that thought alone could crush Tian Yunji's blade intent, destroy Tsang Yue's sword intent, and scared ghosts and gods. At this point in time, Yu Tianhao was in the air, and his supreme confidence and beliefs alone could defeat his opponents. Mo Tianyi, Zhao Yufei, and the yellow-faced man's heart shook. It was as if a demonic god was above them. Their heartbeats could be heard extremely clearly. Yu Tianhao stood there quietly, waiting. He looked at where Zhao Feng was at, and his eyes were filled with battle intent. He didn't attack immediately out of respect. Thinking about the youth that was younger than him by 10 years and how he never gave up and created a miracle, Yu Tianhao admired him. Mo Tianyi and company could feel his state of heart. If it were another opponent or even an overwhelming prodigy, Yu Tianhao might attack without hesitation. From this one could see Zhao Feng's importance in Yu Tianhao. Indeed, worthy of being the number one genius. I'm currently not your match, but I can recommend someone to you. Zhao Feng slowly spoke. The god's spiritual eyes, large source of mental energy, made Zhao Feng stable, even when facing Yu Tianhao's battle intent. This also increased Yu Tianhao's rating of him. Recommend an opponent? Not only was Yu Tianhao surprised, even Mo Tianyi and company were shocked. Who else could fight Yu Tianhao apart from the overwhelming prodigies in the sacred true dragon gathering? Find someone called Xian Wuheng. He fought me to a draw in the past when restricting his cultivation. He's in this place as well. A weird smile curled in Zhao Feng's lips. Right now, he was at the critical point of breaking through to the true mystic rank, and it wasn't the best time to fight. However, a battle maniac such as Yu Tianhao wasn't that easy to send away. Therefore, Zhao Feng's mind flashed and thought of a great plan. Yu Tianhao, you want to fight me? I don't have the time right now, but I can recommend you someone at least as strong as me. Coincidentally, Xian Wuheng was someone that Zhao Feng couldn't see through, and so he let the number one genius Yu Tianhao to test him out. Okay. Yu Tianhao nodded his head. He seemed to be interested in the Xian Wuheng that Zhao Feng mentioned, and maybe also saw that Zhao Feng was at the critical point, so didn't bother staying behind and flew off. Inside the cave, sending Yu Tianhao away with their eyes, Mo Tianyi and company's heart felt much better. The yellow-faced man laughed. Directing the current away is such a good trick. I wonder what Yu Tianhao's reaction will be when he finds that the latter isn't what he imagined. Zhao Feng, are you sure Xian Wuheng can attract Yu Tianhao's attention? Mo Tianyi's face was curious. The two were uneasy. Mo Tianyi knew Xian Wuheng's strength. The two had sparred before and Mo Tianyi had won. He had to admit that Xian Wuheng was skilled, but to fight an overwhelming prodigy? He was at least a level or two away. Xian Wuheng is immeasurable, and I want to see his strength, but this time, his opponent is the number genius in the continent. Let's see if he can bring some surprises. Zhao Feng said uncertainly. He wasn't sure whether Xian Wuheng could block Yu Tianhao. After all, Yu Tianhao was a chosen one that had crushed geniuses of dozens of generations and had even surpassed the Scarlet Moon Religion Patriarch and Sword Saint Yi Wuxia when they were his age. Yu Tianhao could be described as the most talented prodigy ever. However, Zhao Feng also did this based on instinct. There were many puzzles in his life. For example, this god's spiritual eye's history and its past owner. What kind of being was it? For example, what was the point of the curses of the 100 Graves Forbidden Ground? How would the ancient arena connect with the inheritances? These were all puzzles, and in Zhao Feng's heart Xian Wuheng was also one. Back at the Sun Feather City in the Genius Summit Xian Wuheng had intense. At that time everyone was at the Consolidated Realm and drew with Zhao Feng after suppressing his cultivation by 1 rank. He had then left, and no one knew where he went. After Yu Tianhao's departure, Zhao Feng grasped the time available to try and reach the true mystic rank. In reality, there was no bottleneck for him, just a bit of time was needed. Within his dantian sizzles of lightning qi of true spirit cleansed his body and fused with him. Apart from the lightning qi of true spirit, there was also a wicked qi of true spirit that came from the mystic flower treasured Bible. To make the lightning inheritance the dominant force, Zhao Feng absorbed the energy within the lightning mystic stone and comprehended the origin of lightning. Not only was Zhao Feng's true force rapidly rising, his insights were also increasing by leaps and bounds. Wu, the true spirit lightning flame within Zhao Feng's dantian, refined the qi of true spirit within his body, and with the expansion of the source of true spirit, the true spirit lightning flame's power also rose. A part of Zhao Feng's lightning fire God's eyes power came from this true spirit lightning flame. Therefore, at the last moment he was trying to purify and refine this true spirit lightning fire. Time passed slowly, and on the last point of the last day Zhao Feng's true spirit aura started to condense and become deeper. The two protectors had complex expressions. The growth of Zhao Feng within a few days was at least several years to a decade's hard work from a genius. Mo Tianyi was certain that Zhao Feng had met some fortune. At least the source of true spirit within his body couldn't be explained. On the other side, Zhao Yufei's were closed, and after drinking the mystic flower saint liquid, her body gave off a compact mental energy aura. The mystic flower saint liquid could greatly increase one's mental energy senses and was useful for comprehending the root of law. Slowly but steadily the signs of a root of law appeared on Zhao Yufei's body. Sister Yufei's already formed the beginning of a root of law. Mo Tianyi was slightly shocked. As time passed, Zhao Yufei's root of law signs was growing stronger. Zhao Feng felt an unusual aura. The nearby Heaven-Earth Yuan Qi's activity rate was dozens of times more than the norm. These Heaven-Earth Yuan Qi were extremely close to Zhao Yufei and closed in on her. Zhao Feng opened his God's spiritual eye to look at it closer. In the air countless sparks of Heaven-Earth Yuan Qi flowed in from every direction and approached Zhao Yufei. Zhao Yufei was like a magnet that attracted Heaven-Earth Yuan Qi. Yufei's bloodline has a shocking compatibility with the Heaven-Earth Yuan Qi. After forming the root of law, the compatibility rate seems to have been magnified 10 times. Zhao Feng's God's spiritual eye was stunned by what he analyzed. Furthermore, he found that Zhao Yufei's flesh and blood could absorb and merge with Heaven-Earth Yuan Qi. Her skin was pure white and as smooth as jade. Incredible. Zhao Feng also received some benefits from this. His root of law caught the lightning Heaven-Earth Yuan Qi nearby. It was as if Zhao Feng was sitting next to a Heaven-Earth Yuan Qi magnet, and the benefits from it was unbelievable. Looks like my breaking through speed can be doubled. Zhao Feng was overjoyed. Zhao Yufei was like his lucky star. She first brought him the lightning mystic stone, then attracted so many Heaven-Earth Yuan Qi. The air above the river where the two cultivated started to flash with lightning and other colors. Luckily, most of the geniuses had set this place as a forbidden zone and didn't dare come closer. Many knew that there was the sixth dragon blessing genius Zhao Feng and first tier Mo Tianyi there. Without an overwhelming prodigy, no one dared to venture there. Most of the other overwhelming prodigies knew this as well. Yu Tianhao and Tantai Lanyue had passed by, but no battle was fought. On a mountain in the south, Goddess Bingwei's eyes looked coldly towards where Zhao Feng was with hatred and unwillingness. Zhao Feng, so you were hiding all the time cultivating? Looks like your true cultivation hasn't reached the true mystic rank and is still half a level away from the overwhelming prodigy level. Goddess Bingwei's face went chilly. Shua! Her figure flashed and disappeared from the mountain. She didn't head towards where Zhao Feng was at and instead went in the opposite direction. This Zhao Feng's bloodline power counters mine and has strong defense. Just me alone can't take care of him. Goddess Bingwei wasn't blinded by hate. Even if she went over, facing Zhao Feng, Emotiani and company, she wouldn't win. Therefore, Goddess Bingwei soon had a plan. Find helpers. Only by finding another overwhelming prodigy that wasn't countered by Zhao Feng would the chances of winning increase. Apart from her, the other overwhelming prodigies were Yu Tianhao, Taiyun Shuangzi, Tan Tai Lanyue, and Shi Chengtian. Goddess Bingwei immediately excluded Yu Tianhao. Yu Tianhao was lonely and wouldn't allow himself to team up against someone, especially if that someone wasn't even an overwhelming prodigy. In the entire Sacred True Dragon gathering, Yu Tianhao didn't need to team up with anyone to beat them. Next, Taiyun Shuangzi. Taiyun Shuangzi is strong but is cruel and cunning. His attitude changes frequently. It'll be hard to work with him, but it's worth a try. Goddess Bingwei's eyes flashed. Next was Tantai Lanyue and Shi Chengtian. Goddess Bingwei removed Tantai Lanyue. Before, Tantai Lanyue had teamed up with Shi Chengtian to fight Yu Tianhao, but not only did they win, they also had some losses. Goddess Bingwei, who was hiding in secret, also ambushed Tantai Lanyue, and the latter's losses were quite big. At the same time, she now hated Goddess Bingwei. Therefore, the only two choices were Taiyun Shuangzi and Shi Chengtian. Taiyun Shuangzi consists of two brothers, meaning their strength is doubled when working together. Shi Chengtian has the Stone Heart bloodline and has extreme defense. He once took Yu Tianhao's attacks head-on and has talent in gravity. Goddess Bingwei searched for these two overwhelming prodigies. The aura of the overwhelming prodigies in this place was extremely obvious. Soon, Goddess Bingwei found the slaughterer Taiyun Shuangzi. Of the 5 overwhelming prodigies, Taiyun Shuangzi's dragon blessing was only below Yu Tianhao's. Hee. Ice Beauty, what you here for? The 2 heads and 4 eyes of Taiyun Shuangzi respectively controlled the sword and blade like a monster of slaughter. One of the mouths even had remaining blood there, which was soon licked up. Taiyun Shuangzi's 2 pairs of eyes scanned towards Goddess Bingwei's body, especially the breasts and legs, with lust and greed. Goddess Bingwei's eyebrows furrowed with obvious disgust. If it were someone else, she would have turned them into an ice block with an extreme northern ice wind. However, Taiyun Shuangzi was an overwhelming prodigy at her level that also had the power to challenge Yu Tianhao. The cave. Wang, a layer of azure lightning surrounded Zhao Feng. This lightning was incredible agile, could turn into spider webs or even form sword and whips. An azure lightning mystic flower mark appeared in Zhao Feng's forehead, different from the mark of the lightning inheritance before. The aura wasn't chaotic anymore but agile and ghostly, more natural with the heaven and earth. A deep azure source of true spirit now had a larger quantity and was purer than before. Crack! The lightning mystic stone within Zhao Feng's palm turned into powder. The yellow-faced man and Emotiani both had complex expressions, and they let out a long breath. Zhao Feng gave them a brand new feeling from inside out. His gaze was as sharp as lightning, and his blue hair seemed to be from a dream. The azure lightning mystic flower mark on his forehead made him seem more wicked. Looking at him, Zhao Feng was like a lord of the wicked path, confident and cold. Zhao Feng, your breaking through speed was much faster than expected. Don't you need to consolidate your foundation? Emotiani saw Zhao Feng stand up and couldn't help but say, "There's no time, prepare to battle." Zhao Feng looked coldly towards the west as he rose. Hearing this, Emotiani and company lost the color in their faces. What kind of opponent forced Zhao Feng to not even consolidate his cultivation? Shua! A ghostly after-image was left behind as Zhao Feng disappeared. What speed! The yellow-faced man opened his mouth and couldn't react to it. This movement is extremely unusual and can ever trick the mental energy senses. So, Emotiani reacted and immediately followed behind the yellow-faced man, while at this time Zhao Feng had already risen above the air and looked at the forest in the west coldly. A while later, above the forest was a golden dragon with a terrifying aura. I can sense this dragon blessing from so far away. It's most likely an overwhelming prodigy. Emotiani's heart dropped, but thinking that he had another quasi-overwhelming prodigy next to him, a bit of expectations came from him. Zhao Feng waited in the air with a solemn expression. Wang, the dragon blessing in the forest became stronger. There was one golden dragon there. Wait, no. There was two. Not good. Two overwhelming prodigies. Emotiani and the yellowed-faced man exclaimed. No wonder the calm Xiaofeng would have such a solemn expression. Run. Emotiani and company instinctively thought. Just one overwhelming prodigy was terrifying enough, and now there was two. You two retreat and protect Yufei. Zhao Feng's eyes twinkled as he took a deep breath. Under normal situations he would run without thinking if two overwhelming prodigies came, but Zhao Yufei had reached the critical point of breaking through to the true mystic rank right now, so Zhao Feng decided to try hold them back. If he really couldn't hold them back, then Zhao Yufei would have to give up the chance to reach the true mystic rank. She had at least formed the root of law, so breaking through was just a matter of time. Furthermore, Zhao Feng wanted to test out his strength. You be careful. If you really can't do it, then we'll have to let Sister Yufei give up this chance. Emotiani looked deeply towards Zhao Feng before retreating with the yellow-faced man. If it was him in Zhao Feng's place, he would run if facing two overwhelming prodigies. Zhao Feng floated in the air above the river with a solemn expression, and his eyes became colder. Chio! His figure flashed and became an arc of lightning that closed in on the position of the two overwhelming prodigies. The reason Zhao Feng did this was because he didn't want waves of the battle to hit where Zhao Yufei was in seclusion. In the forest on a branch. That brat seems to have found us, a bronze giant said in a low tone. When he spoke, the ground seemed to tremble and the branches nearby cracked, as if it was going to break at every moment. Sure, Changtian, as long as you work with me, even if Yu Tianhao comes, he'll lose. Goddess Bingwei revealed a cold smile. According to the original plan, Goddess Bingwei first went to find Taiyun Shuangzi, but he was too disdainful to do so and almost started to fight. Hence, she had to find Shi Changtian. At the beginning, Shi Changtian wasn't willing and felt that he lost face by teaming up with another overwhelming prodigy to fight a black horse. Goddess Bingwei persuaded him to the point where her lips almost cracked and promised to give all of Zhao Feng's dragon blessing to him. Shi Changtian finally agreed. After all, anyone that stole Zhao Feng's dragon blessing had the chance to become first. Therefore, the current scene of Goddess Bingwei and Shi Changtian teaming up and approaching Zhao Feng appeared. According to the plan, the two would unleash lightning quick attacks when they got close and kill Zhao Feng. However, before they even got found, they were found by Zhao Feng. Shi Changtian's face went slightly red. If others found that two overwhelming prodigies had teamed up and tried to ambush a newbie, where would their face go? Right at this moment, a laughter sounded. Good, good, good. Two overwhelming prodigies. Both of you come at once. The laughter resounded across dozens of miles. What an arrogant brat. The two overwhelming prodigies all paused. Apart from Yu Tianhao, no one else had the records of beating two. Zhao Feng's tone was looking down at them. The thing was that Zhao Feng's voice was very loud, that many geniuses within dozens of miles heard this and came over. This brat's very cunning. Goddess Bingwei seemed to realize something, and indeed, Shi Changtian's face went red as he roared. Shi Changtian, alone is enough to take care of you. He had no problems with Zhao Feng and couldn't pull down his face to team up to fight a black horse, even if it was the number one black horse. Don't fall for it. Goddess Bingwei panicked. Goddess Bingwei, relax. My bloodline and skills can definitely counter him. You don't interfere. All you need to do is stop him from escaping. Shi Changtian said in a low tone and warned Goddess Bingwei not to interfere. Even if he knew Zhao Feng's plan, Shi Changtian had to agree in front of everyone. This was Zhao Feng's plan to stall time for Zhao Yufei. Fine. Goddess Bingwei nodded her head helplessly. Thinking about it, Shi Changtian's skill shouldn't be countered by Zhao Feng and would probably win. The worst result was the two of them both being severely injured, and Goddess Bingwei in this scenario could deal with both of them. In the air, Shi Changtian was like a mini giant with a body of metal. He was more than a half times taller than normal people. Wherever he went, the surrounding area would become pressure. Dong! Dong! Each of his steps was like a mountain. Even though they were far away, Zhao Feng felt his blood, bones and qi of true spirit become slightly restricted. Shi Changtian is the only body practitioner of the overwhelming prodigies, and in terms of flesh alone, he can suppress those at the late stage of the true mystic rank. He also has the rare Heartstone bloodline with super strong defense. Zhao Feng murmured in his heart. He had watched every overwhelming prodigy's fighting style in the first round, and Shi Qingtian's power and body was definitely top amongst those in the sacred true dragon gathering. The invisible heavy aura came from Shi Qingtian's body. Of course, when one's body was trained to a degree, they could release a powerful aura that could crush the opponent. Opponents under the true mystic rank probably wouldn't even be able to move in front of Shi Qingtian and might even cough out blood. As Zhao Feng and Shi Qingtian both came closer to one another. 10 miles. 9 miles. 7 miles. The distance between the two closed in. When there was 3 miles left, Shi Qingtian stepped heavily on the ground, and with a boom, left a massive hole in the ground. Like a stone cannon, he charged towards Zhao Feng, who, a mountainous aura came from the surroundings, and even a hall made of stones would shatter. Shi Qingtian's sudden explosiveness in speed had reached a shocking step close to the limit of the true mystic rank. Shi Qingtian unleashed an attack when he was 1 mile away. Roar! The bronze-skinned giant sent out a soul-shaking roar that sent terrifying waves in every direction. Boom! The trees below fell down, and Zhao Feng circulated his chi of true spirit to protect his vitals, but even then he was forced back by a powerful gust of wind and his eardrums hurt, almost vomiting blood. That one roar alone was able to make most geniuses surrender. Lightning strike. Zhao Feng coldly swiped his hand, and the lightning yuan chi in the sky started to move. Bam! An arc of lightning an arm wide with a faint purple struck Shi Qingtian. Everything within a dozen yards radius started to burn. The lightning strike was an attack comprehended after merging the insights from his lightning inheritance and lightning mistone stone. This lightning strike gained power from the sky and required a high level of root of law as well as high comprehension in the laws of lightning. This brat's strength increasing so quickly. Goddess Bingwei was surprised by what she saw. The damage and destruction from the lightning just then was at the quasi-overwhelming prodigy level, and Zhao Feng hadn't used any bloodline power or god spiritual eye just then. Of course, Goddess Bingwei didn't worry. Shi Qingtian's defense was the same as hers. Extremely powerful and stronger than the other prodigies. Boom! Lightning crackled, but Shi Qingtian's figure remained still. A dark yellow hard shell appeared on his skin, and a tiny scorch mark was left. The layer of yellow shell then started to heal. What terrifying defense! This Shi Qingtian has the body of the earth and doesn't even need to work hard to comprehend his root of law. Although Zhao Feng had expected this, he was still surprised. The move just then was a tester, but its power wasn't to be underestimated. Geniuses such as Emotiani at the first tier would find it troublesome to defend against, and now it was taken directly by the body. Ha ha ha! Blue-haired brat, your strength is just average. Looks like luck was on your side when drawing with Goddess Bingwei. Shi Qingtian howled and charged towards Zhao Feng. Boom! Bam! Boom! Wherever the bronze giant passed by, the mountains and trees would shatter. In his sight, Zhao Feng's figure was tiny and seemed to be unable to move or even resist due to the pressure. Zhao Feng's eyes flickered lightning and his blue hair blew in the wind. The azure lightning flower mark on his forehead flickered, and he seemed like a lord of the wicked path. Shwa! With a flash, a blur of after-images was left behind. Shi Qingtian's eyes became blurry as he lost track of Zhao Feng. Pong! A foot wrapped in lightning suddenly smashed towards his rude mouth. Pong! In a flash of lightning, an agile figure had appeared next to Shi Qingtian's head, and a foot of lightning smashed into Shi Qingtian's mouth. Woo! Shi Qingtian's figure and speaking stopped. His expression was as if he had eaten a pile of shit and choked on it. Some of the spectating geniuses were dazed and shocked, and Goddess Bingwei was also stunned. Time seemed to be frozen at that moment. Zhao Feng's foot not only hit Shi Qingtian's mouth, it had even squeezed into his mouth. Shi Qingtian's mouth became instantly scorched, and this overwhelming prodigy paid the price for underestimating his enemy. However, Zhao Feng wasn't as advantaged as others thought. What a powerful body! Zhao Feng's foot seemed to hit a mountain and went numb. Shi Qingtian finally reacted and roared, making the ground tremble, then sent fists towards Zhao Feng, simple and straightforwards, yet powerful. Before the fists arrived, the gust of wind with it could already make normal true mystic ranks vomit blood. Once directly hit by the fists, the outcome was unthinkable. Shua! A shadow flashed, and Zhao Feng appeared dozens of yards away from Shi Chengtian. In terms of speed and movement, Zhao Feng surpassed Shi Chengtian. Of the 5 overwhelming prodigies, Shi Chengtian's body and defense was the strongest, but his speed was just average. Ice Lightning Mystic Flower. Zhao Feng raised his palm and merged his bloodline into his chi of true spirit, sending auras of ice and lightning over Shi Chengtian. Bam! A large flower of ice and lightning blossomed, then exploded. After reaching the true mystic rank, Zhao Feng's merging of ice and lightning became more perfect and its power greatly increased. Over the past few days, Zhao Feng had absorbed the energy within the lightning mystic stone and comprehended the natural laws of lightning. This made Zhao Feng's control of lightning reach a new level. Zhao Feng's lightning inheritance had almost touched the highest 3rd floor and had started to exceed the original inheritance, as it had merged insights gained from the lightning mystic stone and mystic flower treasured Bible. This palm should be able to threaten the overwhelming prodigies now. Zhao Feng squinted his eyes and in a flash appeared above Shi Chengtian. After the dust settled, Shi Chengtian's shell was still unharmed. See! Zhao Feng took in a cold breath. He found that Shi Chengtian's skin had almost turned into stone and was almost not made of flesh and blood anymore. The stone skin had a strong resistance against ice and lightning. It's useless. Shi Chengtian's defense is unparalleled under the true lord rank. Only eroding bloodlines or wood elemental skills can threaten him. Goddess Bingwei wasn't surprised by this scene. Of the 5 prodigies, only Goddess Bingwei's mystic ice jade charming body's defense could be compared to Shi Chengtian, but in terms of power, she was far off. Zhao Feng's attacks were mainly lightning or ice-based, and the mystic flower treasured Bible was biased towards the wind element. However, both lightning and ice were countered by Shi Chengtian's earth element. Zhao Feng obviously didn't specialize in the wood element or eroding poison skills. Blue-haired brat, you will pay for your ignorance. Shi Chengtian roared and lifted his arms into the air as a layer of brown-yellow light appeared, then faded. Not good. Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye sensed something, and in the next instant, his body started to fall. The entire area was affected by a pulling force that dragged Zhao Feng down. In terms of speed and movement, Zhao Feng had merged the lightning inheritance and the agility of the mystic flower treasured Bible. He obviously surpassed Shi Chengtian in speed, but if his body was 100,000 pounds heavier, no matter how fast one was, their speed would decrease. Pong! Zhao Feng's body fell onto the ground and his flesh and bones were under an intense pressure. Every step needed to use energy several times more than before. Humph! This is Shi Chengtian's bloodline talent, gravity domain. Although Shi Chengtian isn't fast, his bloodline talent can decrease the speed of others. Goddess Bingwei snickered coldly. This was why if she teamed up with Shi Chengtian, even Yu Tianhao would probably lose. Shi Chengtian's gravity domain and her power of ice can even seal a normal true lord rank to death. Stone shattering the mountain's fist. Shi Chengtian's fist started to glow yellow and the air and earth started to vibrate. The first seemed to be pushing a large mountain with it. Under the gravity domain, Zhao Feng's speed was decreased by 60-70% and much slower than Shi Chengtian, whereas the latter was like a fish in the water. Boom! Shi Chengtian's terrifying fist locked onto Zhao Feng so that the latter couldn't dodge it. Zhao Feng felt a surge of danger and summoned his 3-flowered treasured Bible. Throne of ice behind him as the ancient figure gave power to him. Ice lightning pierce. Zhao Feng thrust his palm out and the power of ice and lightning exploded. This palm focused more on freezing and the surroundings became covered in a veil of ice. Shi Chengtian was affected, and the closer he got to Zhao Feng, the slower his speed was. He's obviously stolen this from the mystic ice inheritance. Goddess Bingwei gritted her teeth as she watched. Her skills focused on decreasing speed, freezing, and sealing. When her opponents truly came close, they would become an ice statue, but was countered by Zhao Feng. And now Zhao Feng's Ice Lightning Pierce had stolen insights from Goddess Bingwei's skills and used it onto his bloodline power. Bang! Shi Chengtian finally arrived close to Zhao Feng, and the 3-flowered treasured lotus took a direct hit. The petals of the three-flowered, treasured Bible instantly shattered layer by layer, and its light faded by over half. Under the push of the three-flowered treasured lotus, Zhao Feng could retreat dozens of yards, and with the flap of the Yin shadow cloak, disappeared. Shi Changtian, who had the advantage, realized that Zhao Feng had become invisible, so he started to survey around quietly. He was confident that in the gravity domain Zhao Feng's speed would be greatly decreased and would have no advantage over him. At this moment, Shi Changtian let out a breath as he successfully suppressed Zhao Feng. He didn't think that the number 1 black horse was so troublesome before. Shua! A faint shadow appeared out of nowhere and revealed Zhao Feng's figure. This Shi Changtian actually counters me. Zhao Feng's speed was decreased when facing Shi Changtian. In reality, any genius that specialized in speed would be at a disadvantage against him. At this point in time, Zhao Feng had escaped out of the gravity domain's range. The gravity domain's range was only about 100 yards. Looks like close combat is a definite no. Zhao Feng's god spiritual eye spun as he planned again. Once he got close, his speed would be countered. Strong defense, strong close combat, average speed, clumsy? A wicked smile appeared on Zhao Feng's face. A crystal-like bow appeared in his hand and 3 silver arrows were attached to it. Long-range item. Shi Changtian saw Zhao Feng's weapon, and his expression changed slightly. Shi Changtian obviously knew his weaknesses. He wasn't good at long-range combat or combat in the air. Zhao Feng soon found his opponent's weakness. Roar! Shi Changtian roared and charged towards Zhao Feng with a gust of wind. Being one of the overwhelming prodigies, Shi Changtian's speed wasn't slow. It was a bit faster than normal late-stage true mystic ranks. His explosiveness was also shocking as he chased after Zhao Feng. Eye of Ice Soul. Zhao Feng's left eye became a freezing abyss that sent a coldness to the mental energy dimension. Shi Changtian only felt his heart go cold and his charge slow down. A chilling coldness started to freeze his consciousness and ignored his physical defense. Mental energy attacks disregarded physical attacks. Even if Shi Changtian's physical defense was 10 times stronger facing the Eye of Ice Soul, it wouldn't help at all. It would only be effective against the lightning fire god's eye. Sheik! Shi Changtian's speed dropped by over half and his actions were stiff. He was a body cultivator, meaning that his source of mental energy wasn't strong and clumsier against the Eye of Ice Soul. Hee. Zhao Feng revealed a smug expression from far away. Although the Eye of Ice Soul wasn't effective against Goddess Bing Wei, its effect was obvious on Shi Changtian. Kid! You! Shi Changtian hiccuped and roared, but his expressions were slightly frozen. His body was hot, but that coldness seemed to envelope his body and even his thoughts almost froze. Bang! So. Zhao Feng slowly released his bow and the Luoho bow sent arrows after another onto Shi Changtian and exploded. Shi Changtian howled, but the distance between him and Zhao Feng seemed to be distanced by a mountain of ice. Crack! Pong! Pong! The power of ice and lightning started to explode and freeze on Shi Changtian's body. Unfortunately, the power of ice could slow down one's speed and the power of lightning could numb the opponent. With every arrow, Shi Changtian's body would obviously freeze, and combined with the Eye of Ice Soul, its effect was doubled. The Eye of Ice Soul isn't very powerful instantaneously, but can be used for a long time. Zhao Feng kept his Eye of Ice Soul trained on Shi Changtian. The Eye of Ice Soul was a mental energy attack, and with his large source of mental energy, he could continue it for a very long time. 10 breaths later, Shi Changtian's body was frozen in ice and wisps of smoke came from his head. Every step came with a pause. Through the Eye of Ice Soul and Luoho Bao, Zhao Feng successfully controlled the situation. His attacks were shameless and kept on hitting on a joint on Shi Changtian's legs. No matter how strong one's defense was, if that point was continuously attacked, a gap would appear. How could this be? Goddess Bing Wei's face lost all color as she looked in disbelief. Of the 5 overwhelming prodigies apart from Yu Tianhao, she couldn't think of anyone that could force Shi Changtian to this degree. This was a battle belonging to the overwhelming prodigies, and there were many spectators. Within the bubble of light, the geniuses watching nearby started to gather from a dozen to several dozens. On a lone mountain in the northwest direction, a savage two-headed four-armed savage watched the battle from afar. Zhou. Let's wait until they both get injured, then rush over and kill them all. The two heads of the Taiyun Shuangzi laughed. That bitch goddess Bing Wei wanted us to be her lackeys. Zhezhe, we're not that easy to trick. No one can order us around. The elder Taiyun Shuangzi smiled wickedly. Taiyun Shuangzi hadn't agreed working together with goddess Bing Wei but was watching in secret. The situation went well. Goddess Bing Wei and company indeed went to fight. The prey, in the overwhelming prodigy's eyes, was stronger than imagined and suppressed the overwhelming prodigy. The stone man's been fully suppressed. Stone man can't fight back at all. Taiyun Shuangzi's faces were surprised and looked at the battlefield with disbelief. Near the river, Zhao Feng fired his Eye of Ice Soul and froze Shi Chengtian's consciousness as he ran around the borders. Bang! So. The Luoho Bao's every attack made Shi Chengtian tremble in coldness. Roar! Shi Chengtian roared towards the sky but couldn't change the fact he was slowing down. He was strong but couldn't get close to his opponent. How sad was this? Although his defense was strong, Zhao Feng's Luoho Bao had aimed towards his kneecaps and kept on bombarding there, adding injury on top of injury. As time passed, Shi Chengtian's mind was getting injured. If he didn't have a soul protection item on him, the injury on his mind would be several times worse. It was obvious that before the sacred true dragon gathering, Shi Chengtian's elders had given him a soul protection item to compensate for his weakness in mental energy. Ancient arena. The spectating stand and stage, including the sovereigns, were watching this battle. Zhao Feng! The juniors screamed in admiration. Unbelievable. His speed is enough to become a new, overwhelming prodigy. Before, when he fought the goddess Bing Wei, he only barely drew, but now is beating Shi Chengtian without effort. Over 99% of the spectators were watching this battle. Ever since the start of the sacred true dragon gathering, a new genius had succeeded in becoming an overwhelming prodigy. Brother Zhao, you've already reached this step. I'll tell this news back to the 13 countries and tell Master in the Broken Moon clan. Yang Gan was filled with tears as his body trembled in excitement. At this moment he had almost turned crazy from happiness. The Broken Moon clan produced such a genius. I believe Brother Zhao will be able to change the cloud area situation when he returns back to the 13 countries. Yang Gan was overjoyed and expectant. With Zhao Feng's current growth rate, he'll definitely be able to increase more in the inheritances after the sacred true dragon gathering. On the stage, the 9 sovereigns quietly watched Zhao Feng and Shi Chengtian's battle. Zhao Feng has indeed reached the overwhelming prodigy level. This is the sacred true dragon gathering's 6th overwhelming prodigy. Would there be the 7th or even more? The bronze-skinned deputy palace lord said in a low tone with expectation in his eyes. No one questioned Zhao Feng's strength any further and his status of overwhelming prodigy. With 17 years of time, he had become an overwhelming prodigy, and in this generation only Yu Tianhao and a couple others could be compared. Zhao Feng's strength isn't much different from Shi Chengtian's, but can always find the opponent's flaws. The mystic sword sovereign sighed. That's right. There's no such thing as perfection in this world, and Zhao Feng can always find every flaw. This is his winning card. The Green Moon sovereign nodded her head. She had paid a lot of attention on Zhao Feng, and at the beginning it was due to the little thieving cat. But, if this continues, Shi Chengtian's leg might be crippled. A sovereign's eyebrows furrowed. Every overwhelming prodigy was the continent's chosen ones. They could be said to be future sovereigns that decided the fate of the continent. If they could do anything, the Sacred Alliance wouldn't let any prodigy be injured, even if it was just a slight one. Within the bubble, Shi Chengtian's kneecap had withstood the Luoho Bao's attacks for a while now, and when he walked with a stutter. Dozens of arrows, every single one containing the power of ice and lightning, and threaten overwhelming prodigies. But it only brought him this much damage. Zhao Feng was slightly surprised as he released his bow. Even a true lord rank would be injured if not dead under these attacks. Of course, in the dozens of breaths this victor was decided. Shi Chengtian's mind was injured and reactions were slow. His knee injury slowed down his movement speed. Zhao Feng could destroy Shi Chengtian even in close combat now. Shameless bastard. Don't get arrogant. Goddess Bing Wei reacted and charged from afar. At this time, she couldn't care any less about the promise with Shi Chengtian. Too late. Zhao Feng smiled and put away the Luoho bow as a flash of azure lightning flame glowed in his eyes. Lightning Fire God's Eye. Zhao Feng's lightning fire god's eye first locked onto Shi Chengtian's body. Not good. Make him stop. The expressions of the sovereigns all changed dramatically. Before this, Zhao Feng's ice and lightning eroded Shi Chengtian's body continuously, and Shi Chengtian's skin became stiff and crisp. Once the lightning fire god's eye landed on Shi Chengtian, the sudden change in heat would bring great danger to both his body and mind. However, even if they knew this, the sovereigns could do nothing. The sacred true dragon gathering was now out of control and everything was directed by the ancient arena. At this instance, Shi Chengtian also felt a critical danger appear in his heart. He did all he could and put his hands over his head, then kneeled onto the ground. This way he could dodge the attack and reduce the damage. Boom! A lightning flame landed on Goddess Bing Wei instead. See? You! Goddess Bing Wei was stunned as the lightning fire exploded and set her on fire. The transparent lightning and fire quickly eroded her mental energy level and started to burn. It was obvious that the lightning fire god's eye countered Goddess Bing Wei's ice skills to a certain degree, and its effect was obvious. Compared to his lightning fire god's eye in the first round, it had reached an entire new world. Over the past few days, Zhao Feng had absorbed the even purer lightning Yuan Qi and purposely refined his true spirit lightning flame. This sudden attack caught Goddess Bing Wei off guard, and her mind was instantly lightly injured as her snow-white skin scorched. On the other side, Shi Chengtian held his head with his hands, but let out a long breath when he realized the lightning fire god's eye didn't land on him. Zhao Feng's eye bloodline skill was extremely fast and definitely could have attacked before he covered his head and kneeled to the ground. If Zhao Feng was cruel, that lightning fire god's eye could have crippled Shi Chengtian's kneecap. Why didn't he attack me? Shi Chengtian felt as if he had just lived again. At this time, he found that Goddess Bing Wei had been ambushed by the lightning fire god's eye and was slightly scorched. The place was in chaos near the river. The two overwhelming prodigies Shi Chengtian and Goddess Bing Wei were on the ground and in the air respectively, but each of them seemed ruffled. Goddess Bing Wei's snow-white skin was scorched, and her hair smoked. She didn't seem like a goddess anymore. Shi Chengtian had put his hands over his head and kneeled on the ground. One of his knees was almost crippled and his actions were slow and stiff. Ha ha ha! Laughter sounded from across the spectating stand. This Zhao Feng is far smarter than imagined. The sovereigns all let out a breath. Zhao Feng didn't finish off Shi Chengtian, and instead used the method of shocking. Forcing back two overwhelming prodigies was more effective and stunning than beating just one. Of course, more people were shocked at Zhao Feng's unbelievable control. Waves roared in the hearts of the watching geniuses. What kind of scene was this? Zhao Feng in their eyes had his hands behind his back and his blue hair blew in the wind. An azure lightning mystic flower mark on his forehead glowed and his eyes were sharp as he looked at the two rumpled, overwhelming prodigies. This wicked youth seemed to be a lord of the wicked path that dominated the situation. Defeating one overwhelming prodigy and forcing back another, what kind of methods were these? The geniuses within and outside the bubble, as well as the experts from around the continent, held their breaths. Many people were thinking, what kind of era was this? First there was Yu Tianhao and the other 5 overwhelming prodigies, and now there was this monster. In a short amount of time, both Shi Chengtian and Goddess Bing Wei didn't move. Goddess Bing Wei had been injured by the lightning fire god's eye and her mind was slightly injured. She saw that Shi Chengtian was extremely injured and hesitated. At this moment in time, Zhao Feng had the charm of facing 2 overwhelming prodigies with confidence. Shameless bastard! Cold killing intent filled with hatred flashed in Goddess Bing Wei's eyes. Ever since she had reached the level of an overwhelming prodigy, when had she lose so much face? She put out the lightning fire and tried to communicate with Shi Chengtian through spiritual sense. I've lost. Xianxia smiled bitterly and didn't have the heart to fight anymore, and was even slightly thankful that Zhao Feng didn't finish his leg off. The retreat of Xianxia left only Goddess Bingwei behind, and as she looked at Zhao Feng, a coldness radiated from her above the area close to the river. Zhao Feng and Goddess Bingwei met once again while the icy winds howled and lightning flashed. This bastard made it so that my little sister couldn't participate in the sacred true dragon gathering and stole skills from our mystic ice inheritance. Rising step by step, Goddess Bingwei's eyes flashed with a coldness and her chest heaved with hatred. Wang. Her skin lit up as her mystic ice jade charming body was activated and a powerful aura of ice enveloped a radius of 100 yards. The coldness chilled straight to the bone and even had an effect like Zhao Feng's Eye of Ice Soul, activating her bloodline power further and increasing her defense and recovery speed, while also forming a domain of ice. Zhao Feng's heart jumped as he realized that Goddess Bingwei's strength was hidden deeper than what he thought. In just a couple breaths' time, Goddess Bingwei's skin was now perfect like snow, soft and smooth. The only thing she couldn't instantly heal was the injury in her mind. This is the power of domain, using her mystic ice jade charming body and bloodline to freeze everything within a certain radius. Even if an overwhelming prodigy entered, their speed would decrease significantly. Emotiani's head popped out as he watched the battle from afar. He was stunned when he saw Zhao Feng beat Xianxia and wasn't worried for Zhao Feng fighting against Goddess Bingwei. After all, Zhao Feng's bloodline countered Goddess Bingwei's and her lightning fire gods. I was also deadly towards her. If this domain of ice was used together with Xianxia's gravity domain, its effect would double. Zhao Feng's mind turned and instantly understood Goddess Bingwei and Xianxia's original plan. Once the domain of ice and gravity domain was used together, even those at the True Lord rank would be restricted. Across the sacred True Dragon gathering, probably no one could break it. Extreme northern mystic ice wind. Goddess Bingwei fired a chaotic howling gust of wind that froze everything in its path, and Zhao Feng's blood and chi of true spirit started to freeze. If it weren't for his bloodline power, Goddess Bingwei would definitely be a troublesome opponent. Wang. A magnificent figure rose behind Zhao Feng and sat on a throne. When Goddess Bingwei's ice attacks came close, a part of it was absorbed. Zhao Feng was protected from the ice and had a high resilience from it. Mystic ice demon suppressing mountain. Goddess Bingwei shouted as her jade hands summoned several ice mountains crushing down towards Zhao Feng. What's this Goddess Bingwei planning? Zhao Feng was suspicious. He lifted his hands and two sources of true spirit surged from him, which shattered the ice mountains. Compared with before, Zhao Feng had a far easier time than before when fighting Goddess Bingwei. Who? Shua. Goddess Bingwei's eyes flashed as she closed in and her domain of ice enveloped Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng seemed to fall into countless ice, but the figure and throne behind him continuously absorbed the ice. The domain of ice is indeed strong, but has a much weaker effect to me, Zhao Feng thought. The domain of ice used extreme coldness to freeze everything around it, but for Zhao Feng, its effect was at least 70% less. Goddess Bingwei was just wasting her energy. However, Zhao Feng soon felt that something was wrong. Goddess Bingwei kept on coming closer and the domain of ice became stronger since Goddess Bingwei's mystic ice jade charming body was its core. Yet Zhao Feng didn't fear Goddess Bingwei in close combat. Pong! Boom! The power of ice and lightning blossomed as the two clashed time after time. Zhao Feng became more courageous as time passed and his chi of true spirit flowed more smoothly. Goddess Bingwei didn't have any advantage in close combat. Zhao Feng did indeed have the strength of an overwhelming prodigy, and his bloodline was her nemesis. He didn't fear her in both close or long-range combat. Of course, Zhao Feng's bloodline also couldn't deal with Goddess Bingwei. Goddess Bingwei's mystic ice jade charming body's defense was extremely strong and could almost fully block any normal attack. Lightning Fire God's Eye. Zhao Feng fired an eye bloodline skill onto Goddess Bingwei's body, but under the domain of ice, the damage from the Lightning Fire God's Eye was weakened by quite a bit. Furthermore, Goddess Bingwei was watching out for it and not caught off guard. Zhao Feng's Lightning Fire God's Eye only injured Goddess Bingwei's mind a little bit. Goddess Bingwei humphed and gritted her teeth as she took this hit directly. There's definitely a trick. Zhao Feng's eyes twinkled as he found Goddess Bing Wei's kept on fighting close range. Zhao Feng's speed was indeed decreased by Goddess Bing Wei's domain of ice, but her close combat skills was just average. She wasn't as powerful as Shi Chengtian and not as agile as he. Zhao Feng soon found a flaw in Goddess Bing Wei. Ice Lightning Mystic Flower. Zhao Feng's eyes flashed as his power of ice and lightning thrust towards Goddess Bing Wei's chest, which had no protection there. Goddess Bing Wei's expression changed as she tried to dodge. Bam! It was too late and Zhao Feng's palm had reached her chest. Zhao Feng felt a softness on his palm. Ah! His face instantly went slightly red and was dumbfounded. In terms of pure defense, Goddess Bing Wei's mystic ice jade charming body was the same as Shi Chengtian's and had high resilience towards ice. Therefore, this palm barely injured Goddess Bing Wei. Damn it! I got tricked. Zhao Feng realized that Goddess Bing Wei had purposely left this flaw for him, and as he thought, he saw Goddess Bing Wei reveal a smug smile. Just as he tried to retreat, Goddess Bing Wei's domain of ice reached its peak, and the critical coldness almost froze Zhao Feng's blood as he slowed down. Furthermore, Goddess Bing Wei also reached out her arms and hugged Zhao Feng. Ah! Surprised shouts came from everywhere. The nearby spectators had gaping mouths, and the mouths of the experts in the ancient arena almost fell to the ground. That's right. Goddess Bing Wei had hugged Zhao Feng, and in a very tight manner. If it was in another place, they would have been thought of as a couple. Hee. Zhao Feng's underestimated her. A smile appeared on the mystic Ice Queen's face. Zhao Feng stood still as he was tightly hugged by Goddess Bing Wei, and a terrifying coldness spread out throughout his body. Being hugged by such a beauty was supposed to be great, but for Zhao Feng, he had half-stepped into being doomed. Limitless coldness locked Zhao Feng's body, and in the blink of an eye a layer of ice had spread across his body, and was trying to go a step further and freeze his chi of true spirit and bloodline power. How shameless is this Goddess Bing Wei to use her breasts to lure me in and freeze me. Zhao Feng hiccuped as he froze. Just like this, he and Goddess Bing Wei hugged. It was at first warm, but then came infinite coldness. The two were right next to each other. Zhao Feng's mouth almost kissed Goddess Bing Wei's face, and the latter was like a goddess of ice as her mouth curled up in killing intent. Apart from his bloodline power, Zhao Feng's mastery and insights into ice was more than level off than Goddess Bing Wei. With such a small distance between them, Zhao Feng's advantage in speed was useless. It wasn't as if Zhao Feng didn't want to resist. Goddess Bing Wei's cultivation was higher than him by 2 small levels and had a purer and denser chi of true spirit. She also had a bloodline power, and her mystic ice jade charming body's attributes surpassed him. In terms of coldness, Goddess Bing Wei's domain also suppressed Zhao Feng. Therefore, being tightly hugged and frozen, Zhao Feng couldn't struggle at all. See. With the naked eye one could see the area surrounding the two was being turned into ice. Zhao Feng's body was fully sealed in ice, and Goddess Bing Wei wasn't affected much. In just a couple breaths, everything within 100 yards radius was sealed in ice, and even those at the true mystic rank found it hard to come close. In the center of the world of ice, the ice sculpture of a man and woman tightly hugged, each like a couple. Emotiani was stunned, and Shi Chengtian was dazed as he felt a coldness extend over. What? What was this? The mouths of the watching geniuses could fit an apple. What the fuck? How did these two both become sealed in ice? I knew this bitch wouldn't have any goodwill. Taiyun Shuangzi watched the man and woman sealed in ice with shock. At the same time, from the east side near the river, the heaven-earth Yuanqi started to move around. Huang. The air and earth seemed to tremble, and multicolored lights made the nearby river create waves. Sister Yufei's broken through. Emotiani exclaimed, and a powerful true mystic rank appeared. The heaven-earth Yuanqi seemed to beckon to its call and created a stunning scene. Summoning the heaven-earth Yuanqi, this can only be done by those at the true lord rank. How is this possible? The experts watching in the ancient arena exclaimed. When Zhao Yufei broke through, the heaven-earth Yuanqi created flowers, as if saying that she was the chosen one of the heavens. What kind of bloodline does she have to have the momentum of a true lord rank when just reaching the true mystic rank? The 9 sovereigns were all surprised. This scene had only appeared in a few legends such as the Scarlet Moon Religion Patriarch, Sword Saint Yi Wuxia, and Yu Tianhao. At this instance, Wang, another powerful inheritance shadowing, appeared in the clouds above the ancient arena. The second Zhao Yufei reached the true mystic rank. A new inheritance shadowing appeared above the ancient arena. That inheritance shadowing was enormous, and a chilling cold aura knocked aside the nearby inheritance shadowings. Everyone turned and inspected it. They saw a palace made of ice and snow. Mystic Ice Inheritance! The Mystic Ice Queen exclaimed as she looked at the inheritance shadowing with joy and surprise. The Mystic Ice Palace had one of the Mystic Ice Inheritance entrances and therefore knew a lot about this inheritance. However, being one of the 4 great inheritances, it wouldn't be so easily controlled by just one force. The Mystic Ice Palace only controlled a part of the Mystic Ice Inheritance. Only in the Sacred True Dragon Gathering would the main Mystic Ice Inheritance connect with the ancient arena. One of the 4 great inheritances, the Mystic Ice Inheritance. Haha, those cultivating in the Tao of Ice are lucky. The spectators discussed. Being one of the 4 great inheritances, the Mystic Ice Inheritance rarely appeared once every 1,000 years, and when it did appear, forgotten ice elemental skills, treasured and resources would be found, and those cultivating in the Tao of Ice would rise. It could be said that any one of the 4 great inheritances would affect the continent's destiny. Amongst these, the Heaven's Legacy was the most ancient and mysterious. Its every appearance would have an enormous effect on the world. This is the second of the 4 great inheritances. Unfortunately, the Scarlet Moon Inheritance was taken by the Scarlet Moon Religion Patriarch. Sovereign Yu Tianhao sighed. Every appearance of an inheritance isn't about luck. The requirements must be fulfilled. The bronze-skinned giant's gaze turned towards the bubble of light. More precisely, towards Zhao Feng and Goddess Bing Wei. It's most likely Goddess Bing Wei. Her powerful bloodline and ice elemental techniques must have attracted the Mystic Ice Inheritance. Plus, this generation's Sacred True Dragon Gathering is extremely powerful. It might be connected to Zhao Feng as well. His bloodline power is also of the ice element and is a very pure ancient bloodline. Several sovereigns nodded their head in agreement. The appearance of the Mystic Ice Inheritance was great, and the Sacred Alliance was overjoyed and was even more expectant. After all, the Sacred True Dragon Gathering hadn't reached the last stages yet. Of the 9 sovereigns, only a white-robed elder was silent. He hurriedly glanced towards the Mystic Ice Inheritance, then put all his attention on Zhao Yufei breaking through. The 10,000 ancient races have the strongest bloodlines in the universe, and the appearance of any one of them has greater importance than the 4 great inheritances. The white-robed elder didn't move. In his eyes, Zhao Yufei reaching the true mystic rank was more important than the inheritances. This white-robed elder was Zhao Yufei's master, one of the grand elders of the Heavenly Yuan clan and a Sacred Alliance member. He didn't speak much in this Sacred True Dragon Gathering because he had a secret that apart from another grand elder, no third person knew. And at this moment Zhao Yufei reaching the true mystic rank might cause a scenery from her bloodline that other sovereigns might detect. Once that secret was found, the white-robed elder couldn't imagine the outcome. At least the Heavenly Yuan clan wasn't enough. Therefore, the white-robed elder was slightly uneasy, but luckily the Mystic Ice Inheritance directed everyone's attention. Baiyun Dao Sovereign, that Zhao Yufei is your disciple. Her momentum in reaching the true mystic rank isn't small. The Green Moon Sovereign faintly smiled as she noticed the white-robed elder's tension. The white-robed elder was Baiyun Dao Sovereign, one of the 9 present. So this is the disciple of Baiyun Dao Sovereign. Your disciple's bloodline's so powerful. Maybe she'll become another overwhelming prodigy and catch up to Sword Saint Yi Wuxia. From how she reached the true mystic rank, her bloodline power has just been discovered and probably has the battle power close to an overwhelming prodigy. The sovereigns praised, and Baiyun Dao Sovereign pretended to be worried. My disciple's broken to the true mystic rank in too much of a rush. This will make her foundation unstable. In reality, he clearly knew that Zhao Yufei's bloodline was extremely compatible with the Heaven-Earth Yuan Qi and her foundation was solid. Within the bubble of light, multi-colored clouds bloomed. In the cave, Zhao Yufei's skin was as smooth as jade and even gave off a faint light, like a flower. Her face seemed pure and holy under the light, and she was the center of the heaven-earth yuan qi that beckoned to her call. She felt the heaven-earth yuan qi was like her mother, and every action and breath of hers could summon heaven-earth yuan qi. The compatibility rate was 10 times more than normal true mystic ranks, on par with a true lord rank. In just a few moments, her true force cultivation had passed by the beginning stages of the true mystic rank and approached the early stages of the true mystic rank. After breaking through the true mystic rank barrier, she had stepped into a brand new world. Luckily, she was in the cave and not many people could see her situation. Of course, those at the true lord rank and sovereigns could see a little bit. This is an unparalleled bloodline. As long as her mental energy is enough, she can break through. The bronze-skinned giant deputy palace lord was slightly envious. This bloodline suddenly made him remember something. Could it be? No, that's way too unlikely. This thought was soon tossed out. The multicolored clouds and flowers around the river started to fade, and Zhao Yufei realized that if it weren't because her mental energy was enough, she could instantly reach the early stage true mystic rank. If Zhao Feng this talent, he could charge into the early stage or even late stages of the true mystic rank in one breath. However, there was no such thing as a perfect bloodline. Zhao Feng's bloodline focused on mental energy, whereas Zhao Yufei was directly opposite. She was biased towards the heaven-earth yuan qi, and it was her mental energy that couldn't catch up. Near the river, Zhao Feng was hugged by goddess Bing Wei and continued to be sealed in ice. Bastard, I'll see how long you can last. My cultivation and mastery of ice both surpass yours. Goddess Bing Wei tightly hugged Zhao Feng, and the two maintained this position. Goddess Bing Wei's power of ice is still being released. This means that Zhao Feng's not fully sealed yet. Mo Tianyi was worried, but he didn't know what to do. Should he go rescue Zhao Feng? But Sister Yufei was also at the critical moment. Senior brother, according to the deal before, will protect Zhao Feng when he's in seclusion. Now the deal is complete. It doesn't matter whether we rescue him or not. Plus, we can't even get close to him due to the ice. The yellow-faced man shook his head, and Mo Tianyi was helpless. Goddess Bing Wei had activated her bloodline, and normal true mystic ranks might be also sealed in ice when close enough. At the center of the ice, it was so solid that even normal true mystic rank probably couldn't even shatter it. Under this situation, Mo Tianyi and company decided to place Sister Yufei's safety as the #1 priority. In the end, Zhao Feng was still an outsider. Want to ice seal me? Don't even think about it. Although Zhao Feng was frozen, his qi of true spirit never gave up. As long as his mental energy consciousness was still there, he could control his bloodline and qi of true spirit. A part of the ice was absorbed by his bloodline. Plus, Zhao Feng had 2 sources of true spirit within his body, one belonging to himself and the other to the water moon pirate. In this situation, Zhao Feng conserved his own qi of true spirit and burned the water moon pirate's source of true spirit. In terms of strength, the water moon pirate's qi of true spirit was stronger than Zhao Feng's. Due to the burning of qi of true spirit, Zhao Feng's resistance rose. Of course, he could only burn a small amount at a time, or else his body wouldn't be able to handle it and might explode. This brat's burning his qi of true spirit. Humph. I'll wait till he's injured his foundation and falls back down to the true human rank. Goddess Bing Wei snickered coldly in her heart, as at the edges of the zone of ice Shi Changtian was healing himself. On top of a lone mountain, Taiyun Shuangzi's cunning eyes kept track of the current situation. Zhe. Keep on fighting, and hopefully you all become injured, then we'll finish them all off. The younger one of the Taiyun Shuangzi said smugly, but the time Zhao Feng lasted against Goddess Bing Wei in the ice was longer than imagined. In the blink of an eye, an hour had passed, and Zhao Feng and Goddess Bing Wei still hadn't come to an end. She's indeed worthy of being an overwhelming prodigy that crushes several generations. It's all my fault for getting tricked by her before. Zhao Feng didn't dare to burn all his qi of true spirit because his body was sealed in ice and could only work it down with Goddess Bing Wei. This meant it was a battle of endurance, and Zhao Feng didn't worry about this. He was wanting to give up a part of the water moon pirate's source of true spirit anyways. But could Goddess Bing Wei do that? Brother Mo, Sister Yufei's broken through. Should we ask her to come help? The the yellow-faced man asked. No. She's just reached the true mystic rank and won't be of much help. Tianyi shook his head. At the same time, within a calm cave in a bubble of light. You are Xian Wuheng? The black-haired Yu Tianhao with eyes as large as the universe looked the normal man sitting on a stone opposite him. Why are you chasing me? I'm not your match. You should know no one in the sacred true dragon gathering is your match. Xian Wuheng shook his head and sighed. You should know no one in the sacred true dragon gathering is your match. Yu Tianhao didn't give up because of Xian Wuheng's words, but instead revealed a surprised and solemn expression. He had a feeling that this normal man could see everything about him, and this was why he said this. You have no path or retreat. Either fight or give up the true dragon token. Yu Tianhao smiled as he landed on a stone opposite Xian Wuheng. Give up the true dragon token? Xian Wuheng sighed in his heart. He couldn't do this. The reason why he participated in the sacred true dragon gathering wasn't because of ranking but for something even better: inheritances. I must not pass this chance of entering the heaven's legacy inheritance. This is a chance to fly. Xian Wuheng's eyes twinkled. His true dragon token had a faint glint of gold to it and was currently ranked around 10th. He hadn't lost any battle in the sacred true dragon gathering from beginning to now. He had even beaten 2 or 3 experts of the first tier. The cultivation of the peak true human rank but has such a powerful dragon blessing. The person that Zhao Feng recommended is indeed not simple. Yu Tianhao's aura fell, and in a moment his cultivation was suppressed to the peak true human rank. Obviously, he didn't want to take advantage of Xian Wuheng. You won't be my match like this, Xian Wuheng stated expressionlessly. Hearing this, Yu Tianhao laughed. Ridiculous! On the stage above the ancient arena, the sovereigns, especially Yu Xingqian, paid attention to the face-off between Xian Wuheng and Yu Tianhao. Xian Wuheng was a black horse just below of Zhao Feng, and being the number 1 prodigy, every action of Yu Tianhao's was watched. Yu Tianhao's mental energy level is comparable to the true lord rank, and even if he suppresses his cultivation, no one is his match. However, this Xian Wuheng is very weird. He has profound insights and seems to be a grandmaster, always winning even with lower cultivation. The sovereigns were interested, unparalleled under the heavens. Yu Tianhao moved and waved his hand, sending a brilliant light that contained the belief of overwhelming confidence and dominance. Although he was clearly at the peak true human rank, the power in it had reached a step where those at the true mystic rank would be threatened. Just that belief alone would be able to charge into the enemy's mind and destroy their will. Limitless palm. Xian Wuheng stood with one hand behind his back as his other hand slowly moved through the air. A rippling wave of air came from the palm. There was no obvious element to it. Boom! Yu Tianhao's devastating attack seemed to sink into a mud hole in front of Xian Wuheng and was slowed down and weakened. The first move. A simple nullification. There was no huge clash that was expected. Xian Wuheng stood with one hand reached out and the other behind his back. His black hair blew in the wind and seemed like a martial arts grandmaster. The sovereigns were surprised. Calm, unrushed, peaceful. Xian Wuheng gave people a feeling that he was like the water, an experienced and old grandmaster and not a junior. He had no talent nor bloodline but had reached a step where he could fight other monsters in this generation. Interesting. Battle intent burned in Yu Tianhao's eyes as his belief became stronger. With a shout, he charged in front of Xian Wuheng. Close combat. Xian Wuheng was expressionless as one hand became slow, fast, soft, hard. Pa! Pung bam! In the blink of an eye, Xian Wuheng and Yu Tianhao had exchanged many blows. This time Yu Tianhao had released his belief and his attacks become stronger. Even though they were at the same cultivation, Xian Wuheng couldn't take it anymore. After all, Yu Tianhao's unparalleled under the heavens believed in dominance and supreme that crushed everything in its path. With such a powerful martial intent, his mental energy has surpassed the level of battle intent. Xian Wuheng's expression was solemn and understood his opponent surpassed previous enemies. Shua! His footwork changed, and his palm style merged with his body. At this point in time, Xian Wuheng seemed to be nature. He became a flowing ocean that could suck in everything and anything. Yu Tianhao's terrifying offense was nullified. Bam! Pung! Boom! The close combat of the two became more and more fierce. It was like walking on a tightrope with an abyss below them. Many spectators took in a deep breath as they watched. What was more terrifying was that the battle from the two didn't destroy the rocks underneath them. Only a few footstep marks were left behind. From this one could see their level of control. Switching the stars. Xian Wuheng's style once again changed and became a pull that almost redirected Yu Tianhao's attack. This move is interesting. Yu Tianhao's figure faintly shook and was almost pulled away by Xian Wuheng. If it was another genius without his level of mental energy, they might have fallen onto the ground face first. Xian Wuheng didn't pass up this chance and then sliced towards Yu Tianhao's stomach as he became one with his insights. All his actions contained his energy, focus, and power. Pong! Yu Tianhao was finally forced back a couple steps by Xian Wuheng. Indeed, he's not simple. Yu Tianhao's blood seemed to boil at this moment and his battle intent rose. Slowly and steadily his cultivation exceeded the true human rank and reached the true mystic rank. Xian Wuheng couldn't take it anymore and was forced to retreat. Anything had its limit and the opponent's insights surpassed sword intent and blade intents. 10,000 origins retract. Xian Wuheng used both hands and ripples shot out that were both hard and soft. Focusing on it, people saw that this transparent ripple formed the shape of Tai Chi. Alone in the heavens, Yu Tianhao's palm crushed everything within 100 yards radius with overwhelming force. However, Xian Wuheng swiped his hands and the power seemed to be led, then absorbed and converted when it came near him. With the cultivation of the peak true human rank, he dissolved my attack? Yu Tianhao was shocked. Of course, Xian Wuheng could only dissolve his attacks as he specialized in defense and couldn't threaten Yu Tianhao, who was at the true mystic rank. However, Xian Wuheng had now used two hands. Before he had only used one hand even if the opponent had higher cultivation than him. On the stage in the sky, the sovereigns watched Yu Tianhao and Xian Wuheng's battle with surprise. You should be able to see that Xian Wuheng's hidden his cultivation from the start of the sacred true dragon gathering till now. His real cultivation is at the true mystic rank and has no bloodline or top talent. The bronze-skinned giant deputy palace lord said. This Xian Wuheng has a secret. Baiyun Dao sovereign agreed. Seeing that everyone's attention was directed from Zhao Yufei to Xian Wuheng, he let out a breath. The feeling he gives me is that he's experienced and has deep insights. The way he uses skills is something that only the origin core realm can do. Yu Xingqian furrowed his eyebrows as he stared at Xian Wuheng. Xian Wuheng could resist Yu Tianhao with the peak true human rank against the latter, who was at the early stages of the true mystic rank. Let's make an example. If an origin core realm sovereign had the experience and insights of a path from the consolidated realm to the origin core realm and needed to cultivate from the beginning, will he be normal even if he had no talent or bloodline? The mystic sword sovereign gave an example. There's nothing certain in this world. Although bloodlines are great, it's not the only path. The main key is still fortune. Back then, the Scarlet Moon religion patriarch also had average talent and no bloodline power. The sovereigns agreed. It wasn't as if there wasn't anyone like Xian Wuheng in the past. Next to the river, in a ground sealed in ice, Zhao Feng and Goddess Bing Wei tightly hugged another, and as time passed the latter was surprised at Zhao Feng's dense qi of true spirit. It had already been an entire hour, but Zhao Feng was still burning his qi of true spirit even if it was a small amount. The power of burning the qi of true spirit was terrifying and could easily melt ice. Furthermore, Zhao Feng's bloodline power kept on absorbing Goddess Bing Wei's ice powers, and his bloodline seemed to become stronger. This fucking bitch used shameless methods to seal me. Although Zhao Feng wasn't in a life or death situation, he was still frustrated. After being hugged and frozen by this girl for so long, he was infuriated, but due to the fact he was frozen, he didn't dare burn heaps of qi of true spirit at once as there wasn't any way to release it. Voila! A light 100 yards high shone from the river and a purple-dressed girl with snow-white skin appeared. Yufei, why did you come out so quickly? Mo Tianyi was frightened. Zhao Yufei's eyes flashed and she suddenly seemed to sense something and turned towards the frozen area. In the frozen zone, Zhao Feng was hugged tightly by an ice beauty. This scene made her heart feel cold. Let go of brother Zhao Feng. When she saw the situation, a cold glint flashed in her eyes as she turned into a blur of light that charged towards the center of the ice. As Zhao Yufei flew, a powerful aura of true spirit dyed the sky with color, and every genius within 100 miles radius felt their hearts jump. Such a powerful aura. It's like a true lord that can summon heaven, earth, Yuan Qi. Goddess Bingwei, who was hugging Zhao Feng, gritted her teeth as she once again lowered the temperature. Goddess Bingwei had detected Zhao Yufei arrival and circulated her bloodline power to drop the temperature to a terrifying level. She had already prepared to seal the person coming to help in ice as well. It was because of this that Emotiani and the yellow-faced man didn't dare to come help Zhao Feng. The center of the ice area couldn't be moved by normal true mystic ranks and might be eroded by the cold. Sister Yufei, watch out! The expressions of Emotiani and company changed, but it was too late. In terms of speed, Zhao Yufei had already surpassed Emotiani, one of the top geniuses of the north. Zhao Yufei quickly came closer to the area of ice, and each step she got closer, the cold went become chillier. Even normal true mystic ranks would be hard pushed to move at the core of the ice. Zhao Yufei's skin had a jade feel to it, and when the coldness came, she wasn't frozen as expected. A layer of light surrounded her body and could summon the heaven-earth Yuan Qi nearby within a mile radius. It was as if she was a true lord rank. Emotiani and company could only watch as Zhao Yufei closed in on the center of the ice area. At this moment in time, although Zhao Yufei's bloodline was unique and had almost exceeded the limits of flesh, a thin layer of ice still interacted with her multicolored light. Break! Zhao Yufei shouted as her jade hand lit up and sent hundreds of sharp lights towards the ice. Crack, crack! The outer layer of the ice zone started to shatter. What power! Every action and move can summon the heaven-earth Yuan Qi. Emotiani and company were dazed. Zhao Yufei had just reached the true mystic rank but was far stronger than imagined. Although her cultivation and mental energy level was still at the beginning stages of the true mystic rank, her compatibility with heaven-earth Yuan Qi was comparable to a true lord rank. You want to break through my ice by just you? Goddess Bingwei's body released an even more powerful surge of cold light that quickly recovered the broken ice. Gusts of howling icy wind swept towards Zhao Yufei. Zhao Yufei exclaimed and used her skills to block these winds. In terms of strength, Zhao Yufei was still a line away from an overwhelming prodigy such as Goddess Bingwei. However, Goddess Bingwei had forgot something. Zhao Feng, who she had sealed, was the sixth overwhelming prodigy who was at her level. Being distracted by Zhao Yufei gave Zhao Feng time to recover, and using this time he quickly burnt his qi of true spirit to melt the surrounding ice. Mystic lightning explosion! Flowers of lightning formed around Zhao Feng and started to blossom. Boom, crack! Crack! A barrage of shocking booms came from within the ice and teamed up with Zhao Yufei. In that instant, everyone within 100 miles radius could hear the sound of an ice mountain crumbling and the surrounding ice shattered layer by layer. The terrifying power of the mystic lightning explosion first hit Goddess Bingwei, who was hugging him. The distance was too close. Goddess Bingwei's body went numb and she was sent flying, and a leak of blood appeared on her lips. Burning my qi of true spirit makes me indeed strong. But this mystic lightning explosion is also created from the lightning inheritance. Lightning mystic stone and mystic flower treasured Bible while I was sealed in ice. Zhao Feng's figure flashed, and arcs of chaotic lightning scorched the surroundings. In an instant he became a god of destruction. The spectating, overwhelming prodigies Shi Chengtian and Taiyun Shuangzi were stunned. The mystic lightning explosion was created with burning the qi of true spirit as the basis, and its power was devastating. Before, Zhao Feng was fully sealed in ice, so couldn't release this move or else he might have injured himself. Brother Zhao, are you okay? Zhao Yufei did her best to try and dissolve the nearby lightning and ice to try and meet up with Zhao Feng. Yufei, you came right on time. The two stood shoulder to shoulder and faced off Goddess Bingwei. Lightning fire God's eye. Without saying anything, Zhao Feng fired a shot onto Goddess Bingwei's body. Goddess Bingwei's mind started to burn, and she circulated her mystic ice jade charming body to put off the flames. Bastard! Goddess Bing Wei's face was pale white as she heaved her chest up and down to catch her breath. From the start of the battle till now, Goddess Bing Wei had used all his methods and even used a shameless hugging method to seal a stranger, but ended in failure. Furthermore, Goddess Bing Wei's mind was even more injured. One overwhelming prodigy and another quasi-overwhelming prodigy. If I don't leave now, it'll be troublesome. Goddess Bing Wei turned into a streak of light that escaped to the south. Zhao Feng sent her away with his eyes and didn't pursue her. He and Zhao Yufei had both broken through not long ago and needed to consolidate their foundation. Furthermore, Zhao Feng didn't have any confidence to make Goddess Bing Wei stay. Her bloodline and mystic ice jade charming body was troublesome. Zhao Feng's bloodline could absorb ice attacks, but Goddess Bing Wei's bloodline had strong defense and was also resilient towards most ice elemental skills. It was Zhao Yufei's strength that surprised Zhao Feng. She had just reached the true mystic rank but had the battle power of a quasi-overwhelming prodigy. The area next to the river was in chaos. Only Zhao Feng and Zhao Yufei were left behind, and the two stood shoulder to shoulder, like a holy couple. Goddess Bing Wei and Shi Chengtian had both retreated. Zhao Feng looked towards the directions where the two ran, and a playful smile appeared on his lips. Just as Goddess Bing Wei escaped 100 miles away, a girl holding a 5-colored glass whip appeared out of a lake. She revealed part of her legs and her eyes were pure. Tantai Lanyue, what's the meaning of this? Goddess Bing Wei's expression changed slightly. Hee hee, Goddess Bing Wei, I still haven't paid you back for ambushing me before. Tantai Lanyue twirled the whip in her hands and a puff of white smoke enveloped 100 yards radius. Woo! A soul-shocking roar came from under the girl dressed in several colors, and the invisible aura radiating from it made Goddess Bing Wei unable to breathe. A small mountain was revealed after the white smoke faded. It was an earth dragon beast, brown-yellow in color with a dragon horn on its head. Its mouth was dark and even larger than a normal house. Compared with the earth dragon beast, Tantai Lanyue's figure was like an ant, but she was the owner of this one-horned earth dragon beast. Hee. One-horned. Let's beat her up. Tantai Lanyue laughed childishly as she waved her whip and ordered the earth dragon beast to attack Goddess Bing Wei. It was as if a small mountain was charging forwards. Goddess Bing Wei didn't have Yu Tianhao's overwhelming battle power nor Shi Chengtian's strength, so could only dodge. At the same time, on the other side, dozens of miles away, Shi Chengtian's walking was uneven and he suddenly stopped in front of a hill. Hee. Shi Chengtian, we've waited a long time for you. Taiyun Shuangzi laughed wickedly as he gripped a sword and blade and blocked Shi Chengtian's path. Shi Chengtian didn't specialize in speed and his leg was still injured, therefore he could only fight. These scenes obviously fell into Zhao Feng's eyes. Goddess Bing Wei and Shi Chengtian had both been ambushed by other overwhelming prodigies after fighting Zhao Feng, but Zhao Feng didn't feel any pity for them. Soon, Zhao Feng and Zhao Yufei met up with Emotiani and the yellow-faced man. Emotiani and the yellow-faced man were slightly awkward. At first, when Zhao Feng was frozen, they didn't go help, but Zhao Yufei did. After the danger was over, both Zhao Feng and Zhao Yufei were happy. Zhao Yufei still needed to consolidate her foundation, but Zhao Feng didn't really need to since he had formed his root of law before breaking through. Brother Mo, you go first, protect Yufei. I'll be right back. Zhao Feng said, then turned into a blur that flashed through the air. Zhao Feng didn't go to chase Goddess Bing Wei or kill Shi Chengtian. He came to a hill and looked towards a cave with his god's spiritual eye. Within the cave, Yu Tianhao and Xian Wuheng had started a soul-shaking battle. The attacks of the two were extremely powerful and holes could be seen everywhere. This Xian Wuheng has indeed hidden himself deeply. Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye locked onto Xian Wuheng. Xian Wuheng's intents seemed to be from nature and every movement from him was perfect. Every action, every skill used Xian Wuheng's power to his entire potential. The surrounding heaven-earth yuan qi seemed to become his shield. His opponent Yu Tianhao was just purely powerful and his belief was like sword and blade intent that could slash through the void. If Zhao Feng had to say which one was stronger, it would be Yu Tianhao who had unparalleled battle power. However, Xian Wuheng was more skilled. 10 moves, 50 moves, 100 moves. The pace of the two was fast and slow at times, giving off a feeling that the space had been distorted. Those watching this battle, including Zhao Feng and the spectators in the ancient arena, felt their hearts shake. The difference was that Zhao Feng was watching with his god's spiritual eye and could copy the scenes into his mind. Therefore, Zhao Feng circulated his god's spiritual eye to the maximum to his steal more skills. At a certain point, he suddenly felt his consciousness exit his shell. Shua! Zhao Feng's point of view changed. He saw Yu Tianhao and Xian Wuheng's battle from the sky. Both Yu Tianhao and Xian Wuheng seemed to feel a cold eye look down onto them, but when they looked up, there was nothing there. Only till 200 moves later was the victor decided. Pong! One of the figures was sent flying into the mountain. Alone in the heavens, Yu Tianhao's battle intent surged, and a supreme belief radiated from him that made the earth tremble and make the sky lose its color. At that point in time, he seemed to be the only being in the world as he looked down at everything. Switching the stars. 10,000 origins retract. Xian Wuheng had a solemn expression on his face that was never did before, and his two hands profoundly tried to absorb and redirect Yu Tianhao's palm. However, at the last moment, Yu Tianhao's cultivation uncontrollably rose to the late stages of the true mystic rank. Bam! Xian Wuheng's body flew out and smashed into the mountain, bringing dust down. I've lost. If you want the true dragon token, I can give it to you. Xian Wuheng expressionlessly took out the true dragon token. Within the bubble of light, victory didn't mean you could take the loser's dragon blessing. One had to physically take the true dragon token. Due to the difference in cultivation and Yu Tianhao's bloodline, it was obvious he would win. You forced me to use the cultivation of the late stages of the true mystic rank with only cultivation of the beginning stage true mystic rank power, and I barely W. Yu Tianhao looked at Xian Wuheng deeply, as if trying to remember what he looked like. However, Xian Wuheng was too normal. There was nothing special about him. It was the calm and peaceful aura from him that didn't seem in sync with his age. Finally, Yu Tianhao didn't take Xian Wuheng's true dragon token and left. In his heart, he didn't win. It could be said he even lost. Being the number one genius, Yu Tianhao had been crowned ever since he was young and stood lonely at the peak. However, although he didn't lose this battle, he felt as if he did. Sending Yu Tianhao away with his eyes, Xian Wuheng shook his head and smiled. It seemed that it was within his expectations that the opponent didn't take his true dragon token. Above the ancient arena on the stage. Although it seemed Xian Wuheng lost the last move, he's not injured as he had nullified the power. The Green Moon Sovereign's face was filled with surprise. It's better this way. Hauer's path of cultivation has been too smooth, and it's not a good thing to have no opponents. Yu Xingqian's eyes twinkled as he started to think. Being a father, he obviously wished for Yu Tianhao to have more powerful opponents, yet Yu Tianhao's talent was outstanding and threw every other prodigy behind his back. In the past year, Yu Tianhao purposely didn't break through to the True Lord rank, or else what would the sacred True Dragon gathering mean to him? On the mountain, Zhao Feng's consciousness entered a profound state and seemed to have leapt out of his body and watched the process of Yu Tianhao and Xian Wuheng's battle. He had felt this feeling twice before. Both times an eye of heaven had appeared in the sky but expended a lot of mental energy. This time Zhao Feng slightly controlled it and only watched, and didn't put any pressure on it. After the fight, Xian Wuheng glanced towards the sky and appeared to be thinking. Yu Tianhao's battle power is indeed unparalleled. Even Xian Wuheng lost. Inside the dimension of Zhao Feng's left eye, the scenes replayed in his mind. Yu Tianhao's belief had surpassed normal sword and blade intent. Song Yuyue, Tian Yunji and company would be useless against him. This power came from the heart, and Zhao Feng couldn't copy it. There was a limit to skills Zhao Feng could copy. His god's spiritual eye had a limit. It wasn't as if he could do everything. First was the compatibility between bloodline and element. Some bloodline secret techniques were based on a certain bloodline, so even if Zhao Feng knew how it was used, he couldn't use it. This was the greatest barrier. Second was the level of skill. If it was too high, Zhao Feng couldn't comprehend it and might be restricted by his cultivation level. For example, he wouldn't be able to comprehend the legendary Earth-grade skills that even Origin Core Realm experts found hard to understand. However, Xian Wuheng's skills had no obvious element nor bloodline requirements since he didn't have a bloodline himself. However, his insights were profound and cultivation wasn't high. Switching the stars and 10,000 origins retract as well as that unique intent. Every action putting mental energy, power and focus together, becoming one with nature. A smile appeared on Zhao Feng's face as he copied Xian Wuheng's skills. There was a total of 3. The first was switching the stars, a skill that redirected energy elsewhere. The second was 10,000 origins retract, which was even more profound and used an invisible hand to absorb the enemy's power and convert it to their own. The third was the combination of mental energy, power, and focus, becoming one with nature. Zhao Feng could only immediately copy the first type, which was to redirect energy. The second 10,000 origins retract was more profound and started to touch the skill Xian Wuheng cultivated, so Zhao Feng couldn't learn it instantly. The 3 was the most difficult, and Zhao Feng found that basically it was the use of the root of law. If I comprehend the third, it can increase my root of law, Zhao Feng realized. He put more importance on the third while merging the first type into his own skill. The Lightning Inheritance and Mystic Flower Treasured Bible were top-tier skills across the continent but was only considered average in the Sacred True Dragon Gathering. Zhao Feng had to keep absorbing and strengthening his own skill to have the chance to reach the peak of this continent. He thought that he wasn't knowledgeable to create his own skills but could try to do so by merging the skill of others together. After a while, Zhao Feng returned to the cave near the river and Zhao Yufei was still consolidating her cultivation while Emotiani and the yellow-faced man protected her. In the blink of an eye, half a day had passed and Zhao Feng had successfully merged the technique of switching the stars into his own. He then focused on Xian Wuheng's one with the nature intent. Under this intent, Zhao Feng had to concentrate fully on his mental energy thoughts and interact it with his root of law. The combination of mental energy and attention could use the full potential of one's power and was slightly easier to comprehend. Apart from thinking about it in his mind, Zhao Feng would also time to time stand up and test it out. Emotiani and company were first surprised, then realized that Zhao Feng seemed to become more and more like Xian Wuheng, switching the stars, mental energy, power, and focus into one. Zhao Feng could do this. The combination of mental energy, power, and focus could release Zhao Feng's full potential and reach levels where he usually couldn't. Zhao Feng felt his root of law become clearer and become more able to interact with the heaven-earth yuan qi. The qi of true spirit within his body was one with his mental energy and circulated smoothly with every thought. No wonder Xian Wuheng's cultivation speed is so fast. Zhao Feng's mental energy and power had reached an unprecedented level, and felt his senses with the heaven-earth yuan qi become stronger. In just half a day's time, Zhao Feng felt his cultivation rise. At this moment, his cultivation was fully consolidated and exceeded most beginning stage true mystic ranks and was moving towards the early stages of the true mystic rank. The more he comprehended, the more Zhao Feng felt how not simple Xian Wuheng was. Zhao Feng didn't believe Xian Wuheng got these tricks from the clan. Therefore, Zhao Feng asked Emotiani, "There's many rumors about this Xian Wuheng. Some said he reached this level by self-learning and never had a master. He can use terrifying power from normal skills and cultivate devastating skills." Emotiani said after some thought. After all, before the Sacred True Dragon Gathering, Xian Wuheng was a genius of the northern continent just below Emotiani and Xianxia. As the two were talking, shouts came from the river. "Chapter Leader Zhao. Is Chapter Leader here?" A male and female's voice sounded from above. Zhao Feng raised his head and was slightly surprised as he appeared in the air above the river. The two were Zhang Sanfeng and Dai Yi. The two had sullen expressions and no signs of dragon blessing came from them. What happened? Zhao Feng realized that he had forgotten about Dai Yi and Zhang Sanfeng from the Iron Blood religion after entering this place. After some discussion, Zhao Feng found that Zhang Sanfeng and Dai Yi's true dragon token had been stolen. The two had teamed up, and as long as they didn't meet the geniuses of the first tier, they could usually win. However, their luck was bad 2 days ago and met Taiyun Shuangzi's pursuit. Your true dragon tokens were taken by Taiyun Shuangzi? Zhao Feng furrowed his eyebrows. He had seen how cruel Taiyun Shuangzi was in this place. If the person didn't hand over their true dragon token, they would be beaten or killed. I almost lost my life. My right arm was broken like this. Jiang Sanfeng said sadly, and Zhao Feng saw that half his right arm was empty. If it wasn't because Taiyun Shuangzi found a new target at the last minute, we might have been crippled or killed. Dai Yi said luckily. In this place, if one true dragon token was taken, it was hard to find another. As time passed, the number of true dragon tokens would decrease, and the ones with true dragon tokens were all very powerful. Even the two of them combined wouldn't last a few moves. Originally, the two had given up, but over the past day they had heard of the 6 overwhelming prodigy and rushed over to find Zhao Feng. Relax. I'll help you guys get back a true dragon token, and I think that the number of overwhelming prodigies here is a tad too much. Zhao Feng's eyes flashed coldly as his blue hair blew in the wind. Dai Yi and Jiang Sanfeng were stunned. From Zhao Feng's tone, it seemed that he was going to trouble Taiyun Shuangzi. Taiyun Shuangzi was known for his cruelty and cunningness in the 5 overwhelming prodigies. Furthermore, the brothers each had a blade and sword. They had no flaws when fighting and could both attack and defend. After meeting Jiang Sanfeng and Dai Yi, Zhao Feng parted with the 3 from the Heavenly Yuan clan. Of the Heavenly Yuan clan, Zhao Yufei had the strength of a quasi-overwhelming prodigy, and Mo Tianyi was at the first tier. With these two here, even if an overwhelming prodigy appeared, they would be able to fight back a bit or two. Zhao Feng led the way at the front, and his gold dragon shone in the sky and could be sensed from far away. Run! The 6th overwhelming prodigy Zhao Feng has exited seclusion. This Zhao Feng first severely injured Shi Chengtian and then Goddess Bing Wei. 2 overwhelming prodigies. On the way, geniuses ran everywhere, especially those with true dragon tokens. Jiang Sanfeng and Dai Yi followed behind Zhao Feng and clucked their tongues with shock. They felt excited and complex at the same time. Thinking about how they had been chased away by these geniuses, and now they experienced what it felt to see these peak geniuses scatter. Although it wasn't because of them, they still felt good. This is the effect strength brings. I never would have thought that our iron blood religion would also have an overwhelming prodigy. Jiang Sanfeng and Dai Yi were happy and relaxed. They didn't need to worry about being pursued anymore. On the way, Zhao Feng and company met Prince Jin and a few others from the Canopy Great Country on the way. Seeing Zhao Feng's aura of an overwhelming prodigy, Prince Jin was first stunned before reacting and took a deep breath to seek refuge from Zhao Feng. If Zhao Feng was willing, he could take them in as a few lackeys. You can go. If I meet you next time, I'll see you guys as my opponent. Zhao Feng said coldly and declined straight away as he released his mental energy pressure, making Prince Jin and company unable to breathe. There were no rules here, and he wasn't a Buddha that needed to protect others. Prince Jin and company left, but this result was expected. Zhao Feng didn't seem like one of those nice people. Chapter Leader Zhao. Your dragon blessing is too strong, and anyone that sees you will have ran away when they see you. Dai Yi said, somewhat worried. As time passed, the number of true dragon tokens decreased. Simple. Zhao Feng waved his hand and let the little thieving cat out. He used Jiang Sanfeng and Dai Yi as bait while the little thieving cat helped, and Zhao Feng supported them with the Luo Ho Bao. In reality, with Zhao Feng's speed, he could easily catch up to those escaping and steal their true dragon tokens. However, he didn't want the two to get true dragon tokens so easily. An hour later, Zhao Feng didn't do much, and Jiang Sanfeng and Dai Yi both now had a silver true dragon token with a glitter of gold. After completing the problems for the two, Zhao Feng decided to find trouble for Taiyun Shuangzi. Zhao Feng ordered Dai Yi and company to stay within a 20-mile radius of him, so this way his overwhelming prodigy dragon blessing aura would make other geniuses not come near. Chapter Leader. That Taiyun Shuangzi is gruesome and terrifying. Since we've already got a true dragon token, we don't need to become his enemy. Jiang Sanfeng felt uneasy. After all, Zhao Feng had just reached the overwhelming prodigy level, whereas Taiyun Shuangzi was a pair of brothers that each had 80% power of an overwhelming prodigy. When combined, their sword and blades exceeded normal overwhelming prodigies. From the sacred true dragon gatherings beginning till now, only Yu Tianhao and Taiyun Shuangzi had no losses. Taiyun Shuangzi has both a sword and blade and does indeed have strong battle power. In terms of pure offense, he might even exceed Shi Chengtian and Goddess Bingwei. I don't have much confidence in a full straightforward combat, Zhao Feng said calmly. Hearing this, Zhang Sanfeng and Dai Yi felt uneasy. If Zhao Feng didn't have much confidence, then why would he find trouble for Taiyun Shuangzi? If it was because of them that Zhao Feng had an accident, they couldn't bear the responsibility. Of course, I'm talking about straightforward battle. In other people's eyes, Taiyun Shuangzi's offense and defense is perfect and has no flaws. However, I have their flaw and can win in one move. A confidence surged from Zhao Feng. Only other overwhelming prodigies could take care of overwhelming prodigies. After saying this, he opened his god's spiritual eye and scanned for Taiyun Shuangzi's location. In just a second, Zhao Feng had confirmed his location. Let's go. Zhao Feng led the path, and Zhang Sanfeng and Dai wanted to say something but was overtaken by expectation. On the way, a sudden surge of a golden dragon appeared from in front that was even slightly stronger than Zhao Feng's. Both Zhang Sanfeng and Dai Yi took a deep breath and became nervous. So, a rainbow-dressed young girl appeared in the sky on a flying fish the size of a pond. Her five-colored glass whip made the nearby geniuses retreat. Within the bubble of light, once an overwhelming prodigy appeared, everyone would run. Yet what if an overwhelming prodigy met another? Under normal situations, overwhelming prodigies would be able to sense another from a long way off and would usually avoid one another since they weren't confident in winning. However, Zhao Feng had locked onto Taiyun Shuangzi's direction and had no signs of avoiding her. It's him. Tantai Lanyue saw Zhao Feng from long away, and her expression became slightly solemn. She and Zhao Feng had met at the river but didn't fight. At that time, Zhao Feng's strength was at most at the quasi-overwhelming prodigy level, and although he couldn't be ignored by Tantai Lanyue, he was looked down upon. However, after defeating Shi Chengtian and Goddess Bingwei, Zhao Feng's position of overwhelming prodigy was unmovable. Tantai Lanyue had also watched that battle. His eye bloodline is biased towards the mental energy, but my mental energy level is high and can counter him. I'm scared that he'll attack my spiritual pets though. Tantai Lanyue analyzed, and although she wasn't scared of Zhao Feng, she was still wary of him. The two didn't retreat, and the golden dragons in the sky approached one another. Soon, Zhao Feng and Tantai Lanyue were a mile apart. Attacks could be fired at this range already, especially for Zhao Feng, who specialized in the bow. Tantai Lanyue had already prepared in her heart, but in her sight Zhao Feng didn't even both looking at her and passed by behind her. Tantai Lanyue was slightly surprised. She first thought that Zhao Feng was here to cause trouble as she had interrupted him that day. Looking at the direction Zhao Feng was heading in, she suddenly remembered something. If I'm right, Taiyun Shuangzi and Shi Chengtian should be in that direction. Tantai Lanyue's pure eyes spin as she thought of something. If she was correct, Zhao Feng had most likely locked onto a certain overwhelming prodigy. Thinking up to here, she decided to follow behind. Half the time it took to make tea later, a mountain appeared from in front, and there were large fluctuations of earth yuan qi. On this mountain was two powerful auras from overwhelming prodigies. In the depths of the mountain, Taiyun Shuangzi held a sword and blade and laughed towards the sky as he brutally hacked towards the large stone ball in front of him. The large stone ball gave off a faint yellow light. Ding ding! Pong! Pong! The sword and blade left sparks on the large stone ball. One dragon blessing came from Taiyun Shuangzi and the other came from the large stone ball. Looking closely, the large stone ball was actually a person who had wrapped himself up, and a layer of brown and yellow formed a strong defense around him. The large stone ball had sunk into the mountain as if trying to interact with the earth and gain more defense. Shi Chengtian, who has the stone heart bloodline, is indeed worthy of having the strongest defense amongst the overwhelming prodigies. Zhao Feng sighed as he looked from afar. Shi Chengtian's defense was already terrifying, and normal, overwhelming prodigies would find it hard-pressed to break through it. At this moment he had curled himself into a ball and almost become fully stone as he interacted with the earth yuan qi. This meant that his defense and recovery speed both rose substantially. If it weren't because of the fact that Zhao Feng had almost crippled Shi Qingtian's leg, Taiyun Shuangzi probably couldn't finish off Shi Qingtian. However, Taiyun Shuangzi was cunning and hit the metal while it was hot, forcing Shi Qingtian into this desperate situation. No matter how strong Shi Qingtian's defense was, he wouldn't be able to escape from the fate Taiyun Shuangzi's sword and blade brought. Big bro. There's another overwhelming prodigy aura appearing. Not good, it's that brat. Does he want a share of our spoils of war? Taiyun Shuangzi stopped and caught his breath before glaring at Zhao Feng with deadly threatening eyes. Most overwhelming prodigies usually tried to avoid Taiyun Shuangzi. This pair of brothers were savage and fought like maniacs. Once they fought with their lives, normal, overwhelming prodigies couldn't take it. Blue-haired kid, you got here just in time. We'll team up and take down the stone guys first, then we'll split his dragon blessing 60-40. The elder brother of Taiyun Shuangzi bulged his eyes as he thought of a plan. In this current situation, it was best for them not to fight Zhao Feng. They had already forced Shi Qingtian into a corner, and if they started to fight Zhao Feng now, Shi Qingtian would recover and pincer attack them. It wasn't easy to face two overwhelming prodigies at once, and seeing Zhao Feng arrive, Shi Qingtian's ball of stone sunk deeper into the ground. Taiyun Shuangzi didn't really care about that and waited for Zhao Feng's response. The severely injured Shi Qingtian wouldn't be able to run far. So, this is what overwhelming prodigies say to one another? Taiyun Shuangzi's scared to fight us and even asked to team up. Jiang Sanfeng and Dai behind were stunned. Taiyun Shuangzi suggesting working together and give 40% of the dragon blessing was taking a step back and admitting Zhao Feng's strength. However, Zhao Feng's blue hair blew in the wind as he shouted, "You really think an ugly monster like you has the right to work with me? My target isn't the stone man, but trash like you. One move is enough to finish you two off. My target isn't the stone man, but trash like you. One move is enough to finish you two off." The blue-haired youth's eyes were cold and didn't seem to care about them at all. This sentence was so savage that even Taiyun Shuangzi, who was known for his cruelty, was stunned. One move is enough? Where does Zhao Feng's confidence come from? Tantai Lanyue, who followed behind, was surprised by this scene. Of the original 5 overwhelming prodigies, Taiyun Shuangzi was a twin-bodied person whose battle power was terrifying when they worked together. They were gruesome and had the signs of the second strongest. Taiyun Shuangzi was even a strong contestant for first place this sacred true dragon gathering and had a large chance of challenging Yu Tianhao. Shi Qingtian, who had buried himself in the ground, thought, "This Zhao Feng's bullshitting way too much." However, being someone who had fought Zhao Feng before, he knew the latter's power and so was half in doubt and half in belief. He didn't run far and quickly used the time to recover while paying attention to the battlefield. One move to beat us? Arrogant. Yeah. He's not putting us brothers in his eyes at all. Taiyun Shuangzi roared, and his true spirit realm was unleashed and seemed to contain a cruelty to it. Thinking how they had swept across the sacred true dragon gathering and even normal, overwhelming prodigies would avoid them, they were now humiliated here? When had they been this much underestimated? One move was enough. This was total disrespect. Cruel, easy to anger. Selfish? Zhao Feng stood with his hands behind his back as his watched Taiyun Shuangzi charge over. Boom! A nearby mountaintop was sliced off and the small mountain exploded. Flaming 9 sky blades. Earth Ice Sword Soul. The sword and blade interacted with ice and fire, turning everything within a mile radius into a dead zone. The terrifying power was enough to instantly kill normal true mystic ranks. These 2 peak skills were of directly opposite elements and his battle power was top tier. His attack can be considered perfect with the merging of ice and fire, blade and sword. Zhao Feng sighed in his heart. Under this situation he wouldn't have an advantage against Taiyun Shuangzi. Shua! A blur was left behind, and the sky was filled with after images. Boom! Taiyun Shuangzi's first round of attacks missed, and he soon locked onto a lone hill where a person stood. Ugly monster. You two were born together and have no freedom or privacy. Even your life is linked together. How pitiful is it for you two to live in this world? Maybe this is why you two are so bloodthirsty. Zhao Feng stood on the hill, his face full of pity and mockery. Hearing this, Taiyun Shuangzi roared, and his anger reached a boiling point. "Gra! Kid, you're dead. Yaya! Blue-haired brat, how dare you look down on us? Everyone that did this before were chopped into 10,000 pieces by us and eaten." Killing intent flashed in Taiyun Shuangzi's eyes. Zhao Feng had touched Taiyun Shuangzi's sore point. Although they were two people, the two lived in the same problem and had no freedom nor privacy. Even when they used woman, they used the same body. It's actually very simple. As long as one of you kills the other, the one surviving will receive freedom and have a new life. A smile appeared on Zhao Feng's lips. Kill the other. Taiyun Shuangzi had obviously thought of this before. They were all tired of this body and each other. However, they were brothers and were guarded by their faction. Eye of the heart. Zhao Feng's left eye seemed to create heaven. The enraged Taiyun Shuangzi had almost lost his mind, and when he saw Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye, he became dazed and stood still. Immediately following that, the two faces on Taiyun Shuangzi's faces started to struggle and then smiled retardedly as well as become possessed by cunningness. Their gazes then ignored Zhao Feng and looked at each other. "Big bro, I've been tired of you for a long time now. Why now let me live? I want to live a free and casual life. I don't like to share my women," the younger brother of the Taiyun Shuangzi said in a deadly tone as a sword flash struck towards the big bro. I knew this day would come." The elder Taiyun Shuangzi laughed, and his blade flashed with a brilliant light as he slashed towards his younger brother. Ding ding dang dang. The two fought without hiding back and on the same body. The blade clashed with the sword and sparks flew everywhere. The two shared a body and their chi of true spirit intertwined. In just a short while the two had caused fires to burn and ice storms to howl. Zhao Feng's figure started to fade, and his left eye became full of the future that could be achieved. The eye of heart is very effective towards those that have weak mental energy will. Zhao Feng watched Taiyun Shuangzi attack himself. In terms of battle power, Zhao Feng was wary of Taiyun Shuangzi. Even Goddess Bing Wei, Tantai Lanyue and the other overwhelming prodigies were as well. Taiyun Shuangzi's combination of sword and blade was considered perfect, and Zhao Feng had to admit that he didn't have much confidence against him in a head-on battle. However, sometimes winning didn't need strength. It could be achieved through a more elegant manner. Taiyun Shuangzi was affected by his surroundings and had a major flaw in his heart which was exposed by Zhao Feng. Winning in one move wasn't a lie. Zhao Feng didn't even need to use his hands and could make Taiyun Shuangzi attack each other, which would most likely end in them both dying. My God? What happened to Taiyun Shuangzi? Was he really defeated by Zhao Feng in one move? Tantai Lanyue from behind had surprise all written over her face. One move is enough. Looks like Zhao Feng indeed didn't lie. Ding dang. Ding dang. The two brothers of Taiyun Shuangzi fought more and more fiercely, and soon the two were injured. Because they shared the same body, they tried their best to attack the opponent's head and limbs. The elder brother of Taiyun Shuangzi had his right arm injured and several marks on his face. The younger brother of Taiyun Shuangzi had one ear cut off. At this point in time, the two had gruesome expressions. An hour later, Taiyun Shuangzi's body staggered as the two looked at one another. Show! A sudden flash of lightning passed through their back. Not good. The two brothers felt a coldness from behind them, but it was too late. Shwa! A leg was cut off and blood squirted everywhere. Plop! After losing his balance, Taiyun Shuangzi instantly fell onto the ground, and the injuries on them was left from their battle. Zhao Feng's attack had also aimed towards Taiyun Shuangzi's weakness, as Taiyun Shuangzi shared a body but only had two legs. After losing one leg, his movement decreased significantly. Damn it! We were tricked by this brat, the elder Taiyun Shuangzi said regretfully. At this moment, Taiyun Shuangzi was severely injured and had lost a leg. His overall strength had dropped by over half. Zhao Feng stood on the hill with a playful smile on his face. He looked like a lord of the wicked path who had forced the opponent into a desperate situation. Run! Taiyun Shuangzi wasn't dumb and forced down the pain as he circulated his chi of true spirit to fly into the air. Their current state was horrible. Putting aside the overwhelming prodigies, even those at the first tier might win against them. Furthermore, Zhao Feng's methods were weird and tricky. Thinking about what just happened made them cold. Taiyun Shuangzi, die. A bright voice sounded from the mountain, and a large powerful gravity landed on Taiyun Shuangzi. Shi Chengtian. Taiyun Shuangzi found that he was falling down and screamed in fear. Crack. Shi Chengtian came out from the mountain, and his large body stepped heavily on Taiyun Shuangzi's body. Wah! Taiyun Shuangzi instantly spat out a mouthful of blood as his bones broke and organs started to bleed. Shi Chengtian had the most powerful body in the sacred true dragon gathering, and with all his force condensed, that power was terrifying. Furthermore, Shi Chengtian didn't have any signs of stopping as he continuously stomped on Taiyun Shuangzi's body while he took the true dragon token. Wang. Two shining gold dragons intertwined, but because the amount of dragon blessing within a true dragon token was so large, it couldn't be fully absorbed within a short amount of time. When the true dragon token's color almost faded by half, Shi Chengtian threw it over to Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng didn't reject this and took over the true dragon token. There was still 60% in it. You did more work in killing Taiyun Shuangzi. This one owes you a favor. Shi Chengtian promised to Zhao Feng as he stepped on Taiyun Shuangzi's body. Coming over to cause trouble to Taiyun Shuangzi had also saved Shi Chengtian's life. Shi Chengtian was one of the most honest ones in the 5 overwhelming prodigies and promised to owe Zhao Feng a favor. Wang, the golden dragon behind Zhao Feng's back, started to expand. Taiyun Shuangzi's dragon blessing was enormous, and 60% of it allowed Zhao Feng's dragon to surpass Goddess Bingwei's and Tantai Lanyue's. Crack. Shi Chengtian shattered Taiyun Shuangzi's body into pieces, and Taiyun Shuangzi unleashed a howl before dying. An overwhelming prodigy had fallen now. Tantai Lanyue, who was spectating nearby, couldn't help but take a cold breath as her face went pale. She inspected the blue-haired youth on the hill once again, now with wary and solemnness. Taiyun Shuangzi's death didn't move Zhao Feng, and instead he murmured to himself, "It's better that he died to Shi Chengta." Ancient arena. The 100,000 spectators were watching this scene in front of them. The overwhelming prodigies had never wavered from the start of the sacred true dragon gathering till now. Who would have thought that an overwhelming prodigy would fall? And it was Taiyun Shuangzi who had extreme battle power. Until Zhao Feng, this black horse, appeared, everything became possible. He first drew with Goddess Bingwei first, and then moved the overwhelming prodigy's position as he injured one prodigy after another, finally becoming one himself. And now he had played a great deal in Taiyun Shuangzi's death. Although Shi Chengtian had killed Taiyun Shuangzi, most people looked at the blue-haired youth instead. He had barely done anything and just used the flaw in Taiyun Shuangzi's heart to kill him. Zhao Feng remained expressionless while watching Taiyun Shuangzi being stomped to death. At this point in time, his dragon blessing had reached the overwhelming prodigy's level and was about the same as Shi Chengtian's, more than Tantai Lanyue's and Goddess Bingwei's. Although Taiyun Shuangzi is strong, his mental energy is the weakest amongst the original 5 overwhelming prodigies and has a major flaw in his character. The Eye of Heart is perfect for this. Zhao Feng started to think about his 4-eye techniques. Eye of Illusion, using mental energy to trap the enemy but has no direct offensive power. Eye of Heart, entering the opponent's flaw and can even control enemies with weak mental energy. Eye of Ice Soul, using the power of ice to erode the enemy's consciousness. Lightning Fire God's Eye, merging the true spirit flame with his eye and sending an attack that attacks both the physical and mental energy world. There was no such as thing as the best here. In terms of pure offense, the Lightning Eye God's Eye was the strongest, but sometimes it wasn't as useful as the other eye techniques. For example, when facing Shi Chengtian, he had used the Eye of Ice Soul and long-range attacks to destroy him. If he had used the Lightning Fire God's Eye in this situation, it would be less useful. Then again, when using Taiyun Shuangzi, who had a major flaw in his heart. Under the situation that their mental energy levels weren't much different, Zhao Feng had won with one move by using the Eye of Heart. The 4-eye techniques are enough for me to deal with most opponents unless their mental energy level or strength far surpasses mine. Zhao Feng thought. Above the ancient arena, the 9 sovereigns could only watch Taiyun Shuangzi die and do nothing. The sacred true dragon gathering was controlled by the ancient arena itself. So unfortunate. If a person like that was able to become a sovereign at the origin core realm, his strength would be immeasurable. There's not a single sovereign yet who has two people in one body. A sovereign's side. Overwhelming prodigies usually only appeared once every couple generations, and even though Taiyun Shuangzi liked to kill, his fall still made the sovereign sigh. Taiyun Shuangzi's flaw in his heart is too big. If it wasn't gotten rid of, his chances of reaching the origin core realm isn't very high and is more likely to end up being a slaughterer. Xianxia faintly shook his head. Strength was an aspect, but sometimes state of heart also played a role and might be even more important than strength. Experts needed a heart of an expert. Only then would they be able to control the power of an expert. This was the connection between state of heart and cultivation. Therefore, there was also a thing such as cultivating the heart. In terms of state of heart, there's 3 people in the sacred true dragon gathering who have almost no flaws. The bronze-skinned deputy palace lord slowly spoke. Which 3? Yu Tianhao, who has unparalleled belief and confidence. Xian Wuheng, who is always as still as the water, and Zhao Feng. His state of heart is always calm and never gives up even when in a desperate situation. That's right. The hearts of these 3 are all perfect. The sovereigns nodded their heads. If one person had the heart of an expert, they would become an expert sooner or later. Probably even Zhao Feng didn't expect that his god's spiritual eye to have changed his inner heart as well as his body. Of the 3 that the deputy palace lord mentioned, Yu Tianhao and Zhao Feng were overwhelming prodigies and their battle power was highly ranked. Xian Wuheng was also at the quasi-overwhelming prodigy level and could even maybe exchange a few moves with overwhelming prodigies. Within the bubble of light. With the fall of the old overwhelming prodigy, there was a rise in a new overwhelming prodigy. The current 5 were Yu Tianhao, Shi Chengtian, Zhao Feng, Tantai Lanyue, and Goddess Bingwei, and amongst them Yu Tianhao still had the most dragon blessing. After him was Shi Chengtian and Zhao Feng, who were around equal. The lowest was Goddess Bingwei, as part of her dragon blessing had been taken by Zhao Feng during the first round. Zhao Feng, you saved my life and I owe you a favor. This stone heart jade pendant is my Shi family's treasure, which I'll give to you. When one day you need help, you can bring this to the Shi family and find me. Shi Chengtian handed over an expensive-looking jade pendant to Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng took over the stone heart jade pendant and found that his senses in heaven-earth yuan qi increased by a lot, and it also had other uses. In terms of value, it was probably close to a high-tier spiritual grade weapon. Zhao Feng didn't decline such a thing. I might need helpers when I go back to the 13 countries, Zhao Feng thought. After parting with Shi Chengtian, Zhao Feng once again met up with Zhang Sanfeng and Dai Yi. The 2 still had traces of shock on their faces. Before they had departed to cause trouble for Taiyun Shuangzi, they felt uneasy, but in just one move Zhao Feng had forced Taiyun Shuangzi into a desperate situation. It's good that this monster died. Taiyun Shuangzi killed many people in the sacred true dragon gathering. Zhang Sanfeng and Dai Yi felt satisfied. They had been almost killed by him before they didn't hand over their true dragon token. After finishing off Taiyun Shuangzi, Zhao Feng and company went back to the river area to meet up with the 3 from the Heavenly Yuan clan. Zhao Yufei was still consolidating her foundation, and Mo Tianyi and the yellow-faced man were still protecting her. At this moment the 2 didn't know that Taiyun Shuangzi had fallen, and when they knew the truth their hearts shook. For the next few days, Zhao Feng and company didn't purposely find new targets. All of them had true dragon tokens and their dragon blessing was considerably strong. Of the 5 overwhelming prodigies, Yu Tianhao occasionally went out. Shi Chengtian was healing and Tantai Lanyue was also recovering, as well as letting her spiritual pets rest. Zhao Feng was comprehending the battle between Yu Tianhao and Xian Wuheng. Only Goddess Bingwei went out to hunt for more dragon blessing and increase her own. However, the dragon blessing of the 5 overwhelming prodigies was enormous, and there wasn't many true dragon tokens left, meaning that it was hard to increase their dragon blessing. This was why Zhao Feng stopped hunting. He sat cross-legged and closed his eyes while the scenery from that day replayed in his mind. Switching the stars. Combination of mental energy, power, and focus. One with nature. Zhao Feng had almost fully understood switching the stars, especially since it was compatible with the Mystic Flower Treasured Bible. After learning switching the stars, Zhao Feng's defense was much stronger. Combination of mental energy, power and focus and one with nature could not only increase the use of one's potential, it could also strengthen Zhao Feng's mental energy level and root of law. Zhao Feng had stepped into the path of combining mental energy, power and focus together. He had also touched the door of being one with nature, and this made his mastery of using lightning higher. On the first day, Zhao Feng comprehended the combination of mental energy, power and focus and being one with nature. He felt as if his potential and mental energy level was both rising. On the second day, Zhao Feng successfully reached the highest level, the third floor of the lightning inheritance. According to the third floor's requirements, one needs the cultivation of the true lord rank to achieve this, but I actually succeeded. Zhao Feng was overjoyed. The third floor of the lightning inheritance required a compatibility towards the heaven-earth lightning yuan qi. Because Zhao Feng had comprehended combining mental energy, power and focus and being one with nature, he succeeded in reaching the third floor of the lightning inheritance. Every action and movement of the third floor was terrifying, and the power of lightning reached an entire whole new level. Although Zhao Feng's mental energy level kept on increasing and was comparable to the late stages of the true mystic rank, he still found it hard to use skills from the third floor of the lightning inheritance. What level of insights has that Xian Wuheng reached? If it weren't for his normal talent and no bloodline, he definitely wouldn't be only at the beginning stages of the true mystic rank. Zhao Feng couldn't help but think about Xian Wuheng. In the past, Zhao Feng's talent was very average, but that changed after receiving the god's spiritual eye. He knew how slow that cultivation speed was. Time passed, and on the seventh day inside the light, the number of true dragon tokens was decreasing, and those without the tokens counterattacked and even formed alliances and pacts. The battles were extremely fierce, but none of them reached the overwhelming prodigy level. Those at the overwhelming prodigy level had the battle power close to a true lord rank, and using numbers was useless. Therefore, Zhao Feng and company were quiet. Until this day, the number of true dragon tokens decreased to 100. Wang. The bubble of light started to shake and gather the enormous amount of dragon blessing. The roars of 100 dragons could be faintly heard. From above the ancient arena, 100 dragons could be seen, and the most powerful 5 shining gold dragons were most than 3 yards long, forming a magnificent scene. Apart from another 5 quasi-overwhelming prodigies, the remaining gold dragons were all under 1 yard tall. Shwa! 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 The couple hundred geniuses without true dragon tokens disappeared from the bubble of light and were sent out. The remaining 100 were the famed true dragon geniuses. The number of true dragon geniuses every sacred true dragon gathering was perfectly 100 every time. Those that could be crowned a true dragon genius was not only a glory, it also had a practical use inheritances. Only true dragon geniuses, the strongest geniuses, have the right to enter the inheritances. Therefore, the true dragon 100 strong was a major difference. The top geniuses participating in the sacred true dragon gathering all strive towards making the top 100, but it was very difficult. After all, there was a couple thousand geniuses participating in the sacred true dragon gathering, and only 100 was picked out. How competitive would it be? Shwa shwa. The failed geniuses were sent out of the bubble of light, leaving behind only 100. They were the chosen ones of the continent and true dragons in the heaven. Zhao Feng scanned the place with his god's spiritual eye and saw that a total of 27 or 8 from the northern continent had made it. The 5 continents together, east, west, south, middle, and north, all only had 100 spots in total, and on average, every continent had 20 places. This meant that the northern continent had did much better than before. There was quite a few that Zhao Feng knew. Xian Wuheng, Zhao Yufei, Mo Tianyi, Lu Qinxin, Song Yue, Prince Jin, Wang Xiaoguai, Jiang Sanfeng and company. The unfortunate thing was that Bei Moi didn't make it past the first round, hence had no fortune with the top 100. So Zhao Feng couldn't help him even if he wanted to. After picking the true dragon 100 strong, the ancient arena changed once again. Shwa! The light on the ancient arena started to fade and was replaced by darkness. Ah! What's going on? The 100,000 spectators were all surprised. The entire ancient arena was pitch black and only the space within the bubble of light was bright. Within the bubble of light, the earth started to shake and immediately following after, the sky seemed to open. From this angle one could even see the inheritance shadowings in the sky and the surrounding stone statues. Can we now control the competition? A sovereign asked on the stage. No. The bubble of light will kick out everyone without dragon blessing. The white-bearded sovereign shook his head and said after trying to. Ever since the second round of the Sacred True Dragon Gathering, the Sacred Alliance had lost control over it. This was partially good and bad. The good thing was that no one could interfere with the Sacred True Dragon Gathering, meaning that it was extremely fair. The bad side was that there was a lot of casualties. For example, one overwhelming prodigy had died in this Sacred True Dragon Gathering. This was something that hadn't happened for dozens of generations. Where will the ancient arena take the Sacred True Dragon Gathering? The Deputy Palace Lord murmured with excitement. The bubble of light started to rise from the pitch-black ancient arena. Could it be? Sovereign Yun Xingqian's eyes flashed. The large bubble of light started to approach the inheritance shadowings in the sky, and Zhao Feng found that the surrounding bubble of light started to fade. The earth, mountains and sky were getting smaller while they approached the inheritance shadowings. Through the clouds, scenery of what was within the inheritances could be seen. There were weird towers and even races they had never seen before, even though the images were blurry. Mystic Ice Inheritance. Goddess Bingwei stared at the inheritance shadowing with the most powerful aura with joy. From the start of the Sacred True Dragon Gathering till now, almost 9 inheritances had appeared, and the Mystic Ice Inheritance was the largest and overtook the others. The appearance of the Mystic Ice Inheritance was a blessing for those cultivating the Tao of Ice, and Goddess Bingwei was the strongest genius of ice in the Sacred True Dragon Gathering. She had even entered the Mystic Ice Inheritance before and so was experienced. At this point in time, Goddess Bingwei's bloodline and Qi of True Spirit seemed to feel a summoning from the Mystic Ice Inheritance. Zhao Feng's God's spiritual eye and bloodline also felt this. After all, his bloodline was indeed more ice-based. Looks like the Mystic Ice Inheritance is suitable for me, Zhao Feng thought. The 4 great inheritances were all powerful, and Zhao Feng could consider going into the Mystic Ice Inheritance. But he also specialized in the Path of Lightning and Ancient Tao of Soul. Zhao Feng wasn't certain if his God's spiritual eye would keep on evolving and turn into another element. This meant that entering the Mystic Ice Inheritance was risky. Now's not the time to consider this. Every Sacred True Dragon Gathering has 3 rounds, and there should be 1 more. Zhao Feng regained his calmness. Soon, the bubble of light disappeared, and a new arena appeared in the skies. The reason why it was new was because the dimensions were only of a smaller scale, and looking from afar it seemed like a small island. Floating arena. The 100,000 spectators watching were stunned. From the beginning of the Sacred True Dragon Gathering till now, the ancient arena had changed multiple times, and at this moment the surrounding stone statues seemed to survey the arena. In the sky was the floating arena, and above the floating arena was the inheritance shadowings. This scene pushed the Sacred True Dragon Gathering to a peak. 100 true dragon geniuses were spread across the floating arena as they looked at the inheritance shadowings above. This last round is different from before. In the past, the 3rd round would ranked first place, the top 3, top 10, etc. The sovereigns looked at each other. Would there be no rules again? They're all chosen ones out of billions. Discussion arose. The entire ancient arena was pitch black, and only the floating arena, stone statues and inheritance shadowings could be seen. Amongst those, the floating arena was the brightest, and the stone statues were slightly dimmer, with the occasional weird flash. The inheritance shadowings were transparent and hard to see, just as the people were guessing what was happening. The surrounding stone statues all swayed slightly. What's going on? The 100,000 spectators were surprised. A near 100-yard-high statue suddenly glowed. That statue was in the shape of a large ape with 3 heads and 6 arms. It seemed to come alive at this moment and released an ancient old aura. A deep roar seemed to come from this large ape, and even those at the origin core realm felt a pressure. Shwa! The near 100-yard-high ape statue sent an ape figure into the floating arena. What a powerful aura! These stone statues are indeed not normal and seem to contain a mysterious power. Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye caught sight of the ape figure. Shua! The ape figure landed in front of a youth of the true dragon 100 strong. Wang Xiaoguai. Those from the canopy great country exclaimed. Wang Xiaoguai's true dragon token hummed and turned into a strong surge of true dragon blessing that went into ape figure. The true dragon token cracked as all of its dragon blessing was eaten by the ape. Wu! After eating the dragon blessing, the ape figure shone and landed on Wang Xiaoguai's body. Roar! Wang Xiaoguai roared and pounded his fists on his chest as if he was possessed by a demon. His mental energy and battle intent surged and seemed to understand something. At this moment, the aura from Wang Xiaoguai's body made the other true dragon genius's heart jump and feel a pressure. This is the power of transferring across space. My heavens, the legend is real. These stone statues all contain some intents left behind by some experts. The sovereigns watched this scene in shock and disbelief. Under the ape figure, Wang Xiaoguai's battle power rose, and his bloodline was ignited as he gave off a terrifying aura. Boom! Wang Xiaoguai waved his gold and silver stick and immediately made the nearby true dragon geniuses cough out blood. How is this possible? These true dragon geniuses exclaimed. Of the 100, Wang Xiaoguai's ranking and strength was towards the back, and the nearby geniuses were all ranked higher than Wang Xiaoguai but sent flying by one stick. Wu! Another two stone statues cast their figures. One was a black armored god and the other a snake-tailed Yao beast. Shua shua! Two giant figures landed into the ancient arena, and the true dragon geniuses all revealed expectant expressions. These figure casts represented being looked well upon by ancient experts and would choose to help the selected geniuses. Soon 2 other geniuses received the power of the ancient experts and their battle strength rose. At the same time, many stone statues gave off lights, roared, howled. Different types of powers traveled between the ancient arena. Soon, almost 10 figure casts and ascended onto their respective geniuses, and one of them was a goddess with a fan that landed onto Lu Qinxin. The latter's eyes were closed, and the music of ancient times seemed to play in her eyes. The power of transferring across space could make any genius's battle power rise dramatically within a short amount of time and even be comparable to the overwhelming prodigy level. Zhao Feng suddenly sensed something, and several magnificent stone statues lit up and seemed to look at him. These stone statues were all at least 100 yards tall and bigger than the previous ones. They seemed to be trying to communicate with Zhao Feng and await his response. The sacred true dragon gathering welcomed its most glorious generation. The mysterious and ancient arena had become filled with incredible power after being activated by the large amount of dragon blessing and battle intent. The transferring across space had extended to this generation of stars. The hearts of the 9 sovereigns shook slightly as their eyes became filled with excitement. At this point in time, they looked at the stone statues with respect. The stone statues ranged from dozens of yards to hundreds of yards. Every one of them was of a different shape. Beasts, humans, birds. They seemed to come from ancient times and surveyed every movement within the ancient arena. The tallest 10 sky stone statues were close to 1,000 yards and seemed to exist with the heavens. They had different expressions. Some were expressionless while others smiled wickedly, as if telling a tale. These thousands of stone statues formed a stone statue mountain that surrounded the ancient arena. These stone statues seemed to be experts or even gods from ancient times. Their owners have most likely fallen, but their mental energy still lives on. The skills of the ancient experts are unfathomable and can send their mental energy across time. The sovereigns' respect came the bottom of their hearts. Every one of these stone statues represented a tale. At this instance, about 100 stone statues were flashing. However, the 10 tallest sky stone statues had no reaction. These 10 sky stone statues seems to come from the ancient era or might be gods from that time. However, after the ancient battle, the continent shattered and ended their era. Sovereign Yu Xingchen looked at the 10 sky stone statues with a certain emotion. These 10 sky stone statues seemed to exist with the heavens and earth. Maybe the geniuses on the ancient arena wasn't enough for them to descend. On the floating arena, More and more geniuses received the power of transferring across space, and their faces were filled with understanding. Many had their bloodlines ignited, such as Wang Xiaoguai. Those with purer and more ancient bloodlines had a higher chance of resonance with the stone statues. So that's how it is. Zhao Feng felt 2 or 3 intents come from 3 magnificent stone statues. The first was about 100 yards high and was a 3-headed snake lord that floated in the sky. His snake eyes flashed with purple and looked brutal. The second was an ancient armored lightning war god holding a mace about 150 yards tall. The third was an ice goddess surrounded by snow and ice. The power of transferring across space of these 3 were much stronger than most others. Zhao Feng could feel their summoning and compatibility. According to Zhao Feng's God's spiritual eyes analysis, how welcome they were depended on their bloodline as well strength of dragon blessing. For example, Yu Tianhao had 4 to 5 stone statues try to interact with him. Shi Changtian and Zhao Feng both sensed 3, whereas Tantai Lanyue and Goddess Bingwei had 2. The remaining geniuses all only had 1, and some didn't even have any. Of course, only Zhao Feng's God's spiritual eye could see this. Others such as Yu Tianhao and Xian Wuheng couldn't. Which one? Zhao Feng didn't make a decision, and most other overwhelming prodigies hadn't either, since the aura coming from the stone statues were getting stronger and more started to awaken. Roar! Shi Changtian shouted, and a 200-yard-tall dragon elephant figure casts descended upon him. The powerful aura instantly pressured the other nearby figure casts. What a powerful transfer of space! Zhao Feng was far away, but he could feel his body become heavy and breathing become hard. It was as if he was an ant facing a desolate beast. After receiving the transfer of space, the genius's battle power rose rapidly within a short amount of time, and some even broke though. For example, Wang Xiaoguai's bloodline was ignited and he reached the true mystic rank. Lu Qinxin had a goddess with a qin behind her, and her eyes were closed as an ancient tune played, causing her aura to rise. The power of the qin is helping her form her root of law. Zhao Feng was secretly surprised. Similar situations could be seen across the floating arena, but most broke through in cultivation or bloodline. Ha ha ha! The power of the ancient dragon and elephant. Shi Changtian exclaimed as a wild power surged from him and a cast of dragon and elephant rose from behind him, allowing him to comprehend the power of dragon and elephant. In this period of time, Shi Changtian's physical attributes doubled, and an invisible force made the nearby geniuses cough out blood. Even Tantai Lanyue and Goddess Bingwei kept a distance from Shi Changtian. His strength had now surpassed all the other overwhelming prodigies and could send one flying with one fist. At this point in time, different figures would descend onto true dragon geniuses, and the dragon blessing of the ancient arena became stronger. These figures would absorb the dragon blessing and become one with them, supporting each other. After Shi Changtian, Tantai Lanyue, and Goddess Bingwei all chose their respective stone statues, and their battle power rose to another level. Once overwhelming prodigies received the power of transferring across space, their battle power was definitely able to reach the true lord rank. What a crazy generation! Although the power of transferring across space is momentary, but these true dragon genius will improve rapidly after. This sacred true dragon gathering is terrifying, and this batch of geniuses will definitely be able to change the continent. The sovereigns on the stage side. Some top geniuses still haven't received the power of transferring across space. The Green Moon Sovereign realized. In the floating arena, a small number of people such as Zhao Feng, Yu Tianhao, Zhao Yufei, and Xian Wuheng hadn't chosen a stone statue yet. Amongst them, Yu Tianhao, Zhao Feng, and Zhao Feng had many choices, so they were most likely thinking which one to take. Weird. Xian Wuheng's only received the interaction of one stone statue, but why isn't he choosing it? Zhao Feng glanced at Xian Wuheng. He felt as if the latter knew more secrets than him. Yu Tianhao and Zhao Yufei all received the communication of 4 or 5 intents. Yu Tianhao was the number 1 genius, and his dragon blessing was the highest as well, but Zhao Yufei was still a bit off an overwhelming prodigy, yet the number of communications she received was the same as Yu Tianhao. Could it be Yufei's bloodline is even rarer than Yu Tianhao's? Zhao Feng was surprised. After that, Zhao Feng inspected Xian Wuheng. Xian Wuheng didn't bother interacting with the intent that tried to communicate with him, and his eyes instead flashed as he released his intent to try and interact with the highest 10 sky stone statues. The 10 sky stone statues stood out amongst the others but were all dim and had no reactions. Xian Wuheng first started with the highest 999-yard-tall statue, but there was no reaction. The second 900-plus yard statue also didn't react. The third 900-yard-plus statue didn't react. These 10 sky stone statues were dead silent and had no auras, but Zhao Feng's God's spiritual eye could feel the power within them. This meant that it wasn't as if the 10 sky stone statues wouldn't descend their intents, it was just that they wouldn't descend by themselves. These sky stone statues won't descend, so Xian Wuheng went up to them instead. Zhao Feng's eyes lit up. But would Xian Wuheng succeed? Xian Wuheng had reached the 5th tallest stone statue, but it didn't react as well. These sky stone statues were all proud, and even the overwhelming prodigies in the sacred true dragon gathering might be nothing to them. At least they wouldn't descend their intents themselves. If they have the power of transferring across space, that means they can descend, but depends on if they're willing or not. Maybe they do have their targets but needed these ones to go to them. Zhao Feng's heart moved, and his eyes lit up. At this moment in time, Yu Tianhao and Zhao Yufei both picked a 200 to 300-yard-tall stone statue, whose power of transferring across space had surpassed Shi Changtian and the other overwhelming prodigies. With Yu Tianhao's proudness, he wouldn't have thought that the tallest sky stone statues needed them to go and try interacting with it, not the other way around. The reason he waited for a while was to see if the sky stone statues descended, but seeing that they didn't, he gave up. As for Zhao Yufei, she didn't have Yu Tianhao's powerful martial intent or Zhao Feng's God's spiritual eye, so didn't know anything. However, their power of transferring across space was still stronger than the others. When Zhao Yufei and Yu Tianhao chose their respective power of transferring across space, a couple of the 10 sky stone statues seemed to sigh and become dimmer. Yu Tianhao seemed to sense something and his expression changed, but he didn't regret his choice. He had a powerful belief and his line of sight would miss some chances. Will Xian Wuheng succeed? Zhao Feng found that Xian Wuheng kept on trying to interact with the 10 sky stone statues, and no matter how many times he failed, he remained calm. Zhao Feng thought that Xian Wuheng's chance of success wasn't high. Firstly, he didn't have a bloodline, and secondly, his dragon blessing wasn't as much as an overwhelming prodigy. Let me win. Zhao Feng felt competitive and sent a wisp of his mental energy intent to try and interact with one of the 10 sky stone statues.